Aita for not telling my roommates and sisters I am the owner. I, 33F, bought my home right before the pandemic. The world shut down and I shut into my remote work with the solitude and comfort of a natural introvert. The house was extra large and I only really could afford it because the family selling was in need of a quick sell. The house has a finished attic and basement, which were easily converted into not so many apartments. The basement has its own entry point and also connects into the main house. There are 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, and the master room has a walk-in closet. During the pandemic, my sister both were hit hard and quickly needed to downsize as their own roommates moved back home. My sisters, 25F and 27F, and I do not have such a luxury, so I offered them rooms at below market rate and told them they needed to supply their own food. The rent was really to help with increase in bills. They were both still in school at the time but also working. This arrangement gave them more breathing room financially. Then, a girl they both knew was evicted from her home with her BF because the family they rented from needed the home back. I offered the basement at near market rate, though still a little under as I felt bad and it is a basement apartment. After that, a friend of a friend heard about my arrangement and asked if there was any room left. I gave him the attic apartment for another near market rent. Rental agreements were drafted up for each person. I explained the basic rules, the rent, and how long they would have if rent was not received. I told them to read it and return it to me when signed. I left them each with their own copy. I collect the rent the first Saturday of the month. They leave the name blank on the checks for me to fill out and I always thought it was because they were afraid of misspelling my stupidly unique name and having the check bounce as a result. Apparently not. The issue, I still have one free room in the main part of the house but I use it as my office and it locks up. My friend knows my sisters and they got to chatting up while out together. They bumped into each other during a day out. My sisters mentioned that extra room, and my friend has a cousin, 18F, who will be starting college in our city and asked if my landlord would rent it out to her. I brushed over the comment because I thought there was miscommunication and told her the room wasn't for rent as I use it for my at-home office. She asked if I was paying for the room and I told her, why would I pay for a room in a house I own? She got a little quiet, apologized for pushing and told me the struggle it's been to find a spot for her cousin. I told her all of my tenants are solid until December when renewals go out. I can offer her a spot if someone moves but I stressed it was unlikely as everyone gets along, stays out of each other's business, and it works well for them. We dropped the topic. A few days ago my sisters asked me how the talk went and I said it was okay, but her cousin won't be moving in. They asked why and I explained to them the situation above. They suggested I move my office to my bedroom or the main room and stop paying rent for an extra room to save costs. When I asked what they meant, they said, well, you do pay rent for the extra space, right? No. I then asked if they knew I was the landlord and they were floored. They never actually read the agreements they have been signing. They went off on me about how I should have told them and that they shouldn't have to be paying rent to family. I told them the rent was to cover their increase in bills. I wasn't going to house them for free when they made enough to cover a fair share on a shared expense. If they would rather full market rent on the rooms they were currently in, I could arrange that come renewal. By now they could afford it with their jobs and having saved money on rent for 5 years. They called me an asshole for holding rent above their heads. This then leaked to the tenants as they talked about the issue to their friends in the basement. While their rent is more than just for bills, it is not the market rent value I could get out of the space despite them each having income and no family to support. They came to me to ask that I lower the rent, as if being friends with my sisters was reason enough as I was the landlord and not somebody they didn't actually know. The deal they had no longer seems in their favor, apparently. I told them they had until December to decide if they wanted a renewal because it was not going to be lowered. They are now acting like I am kicking them out, when all I said was now that they fully understand their position they needed to make a choice to stay as with current costs and annual adjustments as needed as was our agreement or begin the process of looking as rent prices have skyrocketed and it's much harder to find a place. The adjustments do not include knowing I am the landlord. My attic tenant asked if I was cleaning house and basically begged I don't kick him out. His family turned their back on him because of conflicting views. Personally, his views don't bother me. His family's though ish. I explained it all in detail and he was like, wait, I always knew you were my landlord because it's in the rental agreement. But he also never put my name down because it's hard to spell. Now everyone is upset with me and I feel unwelcomed in my own home. Aita Wibta if I didn't renew one or all of their leases because of this hostility I feel. Edit. Word. Quick edit since I keep seeing a similar question. Our lives have been a mess of social services and foster care as children, all aging out at 18. I didn't go out of my way to tell them about my buying a house, partly out of guilt, and they came to me for leads on places to live in a time of need. The guilt comes from not taking them in when I had the opportunity at 18. I would have had to jump through massive loops and I did not feel prepared to care for myself, let alone a couple of kids I hardly knew since we had been separated often. We reconnected when they aged out and built from there. We also do not share the same last names as we each have different fathers. Comments. Commenter 1. People who fail to read contracts are not your problem. Definitely NTA. Commenter 2. I love the family should be free sentiment. I'd ask them, you really believe that? Why should I support you? Pay your rent or leave. I'd even consider finding a reason to evict all of them right not. Okay, I'm not dealing with any of y'all's stupidity. You're all being evicted. And start drawing up the papers. Commenter 3, NTA I would sit them all down and have a house meeting. I would say, I am really hurt how some of you have behaved since learning I own this house. Despite me never hiding the fact that I am your landlord. It's not my fault none of you ever bothered to read your contract. I am curious as why you were fine with paying this price when you thought the landlord was someone you didn't know. I have helped all of you out by giving you a place to stay, some of you when you were desperate. A place I priced below market value. Now you think just because you are related to me friends with people who are related to me, that I shouldn't be charging you rent, below market value, for a room you use and have been able to save money because of the cheap rent? Here's your choices. 1. Realize I have been doing you a favor already, apologize for trying to take advantage of me, and keep your rooms at below market rate. 2. Keep making this uncomfortable and awkward and come December I not renew your lease and you are welcome to pay a landlord, you don't know, full market price, if not higher. Comments by OOP. Did they ever meet a landlord? Why would you be handling all the house affairs if you didn't own it? Your sisters and their friends are not very bright. From my conversation with Mr. Attic, he said they framed it like I was something like an RA at a dorm, responsible for supervising the house. He thought it was odd but didn't want to rock the boat so new and with little choice to go elsewhere. I think my sisters did the same with Mr. S. basement. Update. Hello everyone. I wanted to thank everybody for taking the time to read my last post and offer up their advice, comments, thoughts, and judgment. I took some of the advice given and have taken that don't rent to family or friends again to heart. So I'm going to jump into the update. I'm going to try to break it down bit by bit before going into it all. Mr. Attic, I'm keeping him. I pulled him aside first and separately. I told him I would not be renewing the others' leases in December and asked if he would want to rent the basement for at market value. He turned it down, asking to keep the attic as he is comfortable there. I told him it would probably be in his best interest to let the others believe this is a whole house clean out so he doesn't get caught in the crossfire. He agreed and went out of his way to turn his social media to private. He also sent me screenshots of a group chat he had been added to. The group chat, my sisters and other pair of tenants started up a group chat to bitch about me being so uncompromising and greedy. They were coming up with ideas to not pay rent or to only pay in part. The basement tenants joked about one of them losing their job so they could ask for leniency since I was too stuck up to be kind to them about the rent. The harassment, my sisters and Mr. S. basement had told their friends, and the families of Mr. S. basement, about the rent, the lies, and my inability to consider outside perspective and need. I've had a steady stream of calls, DMs, texts, and posts directed at me since before I made my last post, which is what prompted me to post. I made my accounts private, disabled some of the messaging functions, and told the 4 of them to get this to stop before I got my lawyer involved. Spoiler, they didn't. So after taking a night to think about it, I brought the group together to have a discussion about the rent and situation. My sisters looked smug and Mr. S. basement kept sharing knowing looks. I told them bluntly I was not going to renew leases in December because their actions, attitudes, and lack of consideration has made me feel unvalued, humiliated by their family, and unwelcome in my own home. I told them if they found an apartment or place to go before December, I wouldn't charge them for breaking the lease, but if there was any damage anywhere, they would not get their security deposits back until the pricing out was settled. If there was more damage than their security deposit, they would be taken to court. I told them I was done being kind and understanding to people who thought so lowly of me. I also warned them I could and would break the leases myself if I felt the need, in which case they would have 30 days. It was immediate chaos. A lot of yelling, insults, and cursing. Even Mr. Attic, but he was yelling at the others for getting him kicked out when he didn't do anything. He made an epic show of storming up to the attic and slamming the door. He sent me laughing emojis and texted that he wasn't going to be able to keep a straight face a little later. I waited for them to stop yelling, and when they demanded what they would do, I set a stack of ads for apartments and houses for rent in a nearby area and said they would have to start looking now. I told my sisters I would help pay for their moving truck but told the basement tenants they would have to ask their families for help moving out. Mr. Basement picked up the stack of papers and his eyes went wide. He stared at me and asked if I was fucking serious. I told him the prices listed were not mine to judge, change, or deal with. I reminded him his current place was below market because I had a say in it. Market prices for one-bedrooms in the area are well over $1,500 a month, if he wants near his work and close enough to walk to stores and things. He currently has a two-bedroom for less than that. My sisters grabbed some of the papers and the 27-year-old started crying because she couldn't afford an apartment on her own. She told me about her student loans and credit card debt. I told her, too bad. I gave you a good deal out of kindness and you sent an army after me. I would have considered letting you stay if you hadn't been so nasty. I told all of them they could probably swing a two-bedroom between the four of them and got up and left. They refused to talk to me now. My sisters spent the night in the basement apartment and I could hear shrieks and crying if I walked by the door that leads down there. I feel a little bad but I reread your comments to keep my sanity. As for if I want them out, I can give them 30 days notice since they are inside my own home. I checked and double-checked with the lawyer and this information had been in their rental contracts. If I do have to kick them, and they try to refuse to leave and drag it out in court, which they don't have the money for, I've been given some handy advice by a fellow landlord who had to remove his own brother. I can't remove them by force but I can make living there entirely uncomfortable. Nothing stops me from taking doors off hinges or starting remodeling while their stuff is in the way. Nothing stops me from turning off the water or electric for their sections of the house during remodeling. Quick edit, just for remodeling purposes. It wouldn't be done to make them leave. But they can't stop my remodeling as squatters. It might seem like an asshole thing to do, but they would be the ones to start it and I actually do want to repaint and do some adjustments. The reason I am leaning on evicting them by August is because the harassment has gotten so much worse now that there is an actual non-renewal happening. I'm leaving my phone on silent and collecting messages, voicemails, emails, and other things to hand off to my lawyer next week. I told them to call off their dogs and they haven't. I asked Mr. Attic if he knew anyone who would need a place and to let me know. He has a few friends from his community who seem interested, as they either live with roommates or family and want out. If anyone has any questions this quiet morning, I will try to answer them. Quick edit. I have cameras outside and in common rooms, facing the front and back doors, the hallways upstairs and the door leading to the basement. The tenants have access to the entry point. Ones like Mr. Attic has the hallway to his area, Mr. S basement have the feed that leads to their door inside the main house and they all have outside camera access. I'm thinking of cutting access to the outside cameras for them. They can't do anything to the feeds as they are guests in the system, so they can't delete anything, and my access automatically saves on extra external systems. I might just cut them all out of the system except Mr. Attic for peace of mind. Also, I keep seeing people ask about our family. There are no parents and no family from our side. My sisters have no relationships with their fathers or their families, mine have been killed due to his own actions, there is no sympathy for the likes of him, and his family shunned him so they shunned me as well, and our mother is a cup of ash left at the funeral home. Comments. Commenter 1, what a relief this update is. I was concerned that you would allow them to stay only to see the household morale denigrate to the extent that you'd loathe being in your own home. Good on you with your shiny spine. Until they are gone, however, I would err on the side of caution and consider installing some cameras. Reply. I should add this to the post. I have cameras outside and in common rooms, facing the front and back doors, the hallways upstairs and the door leading to the basement. The tenants have access to the entry point. Ones like Mr. Attic has the hallway to his area, Mr. S basement have the feed that leads to their door inside the main house and they all have outside camera access. I'm thinking of cutting access to the outside cameras for them. They can't do anything to the feeds as they are guests in the system, so they can't delete anything, and my access automatically saves on extra external systems. Commenter 2, you need to start eviction process ASAP through your lawyer and give notice to occupants. I would not do anything to make their lives uncomfortable though. That may consider constructive eviction if their leases are still active and you can get sued for that by a dozen lawyers working pro bono in the anti-landlord arena. Reply. The removal of doors and things being remodeled would only happen if they stayed beyond their eviction date. I don't want to do it but if they want to drag this out and be problems, it's an option. Update 2. Hey everyone, I'm very tired. Thank you all for your kind words and wonderful advice. Mr. Attic's friends, 2 have agreed to take the bedrooms my sisters are currently occupying when they move out. I've met them, we talked at length, and they are wonderful people. One helped me change the tire on my car because I ended up with a flat just after our meeting and she was incredibly kind and showed me how to change it. Like she walked me through it step by step, letting me do it but just explaining how. I can't believe I've never changed a tire before. Weirdly embarrassing. The harassment and lawyer, the lawyer sent a cease and desist to everyone that had contacted me. Then, he went on and filed for restraining orders, orders of protection and a claim for slander defamations. There were many posts with me tagged or with my name claiming I was an unfit landlord, a slum lord, a greedy bitch, a homewrecker, because I apparently came onto him at the basement. So funny because he is fugly and you couldn't pay me to touch that, and more. These things take time, but there was an almost immediate drop-off of calls, messages, etc. Mr. Basement, have been served their notice. They helped spread lies and deception. They have ceased all communication with me, but they only have 30 days and I have posted notes on their porch reminding them every day how long they have. I've seen them starting to take smaller things out today, which is what prompted this update. Mrs. Basement can be heard crying a lot if I stand by the top of the stairs. I think they might be moving back in with family, which is what they have been avoiding by moving into my basement. Her mother is toxic, her father has a new wife who hates her, and Mr. Basement's family dislikes her enough to outright ignore her or tell it to her face that she isn't family, especially because she won't give her BF a family. Spoiler, she can't have kids due to medical stuff. And they aren't even married. Group chat, I have screenshots of their group chat, courtesy of Mr. Attic, and there is a lot of evidence of them feeding lies to others, talking all about how they told this person this, or that person that. Mr. Basement made the claim I came onto him, and his girlfriend went nuts. I think she doesn't know he lied about it, just to make it more believable to others. When he first made the claim, she blew up my phone and social media before dragging it to others. My sisters weren't surprised by my behavior. That stung. I have never done anything like that in the past. My sisters, they also have their notices. The 25-year-old is already moving in with a couple of friends who think I am horse shit. They come every so often to help her move things and they send me nasty looks or make loud, intentional comments for me to hear. She has been dumping my food into the trash and dumping it down the sink. I just got a mini fridge for my room and she spends nights screaming at my locked door. I take my work to a local cafe, rather, multiple ones, or library now because she will just shriek any time she thinks I'm working. I make it vary and don't go to the same place twice in a row. The 27-year-old has turned to begging for me to let her stay as she can't afford to live on her own and she has no one willing to take her. Her boy toy, didn't even know she had one, broke up with her when he got the cease and desist from the lawyer. He was one of the ones causing problems, but once the lawyer stepped in to bat, he bounced. According to Mr. Attic, he heard her telling someone something along the lines of he could move in if he helped her get me to leave or back down because it's family property. She had been taking a call outside and I caught the proof on camera because he told when and where to look for it. Quick edit, my sisters are not moving in together because they each blame each other. They also blame the basement tenants while they blame my sisters. They all collectively blame me as well since I'm just pure evil, but they think each of them pushed me to do it. Cameras, only Mr. Attic still has access. The cameras were not part of the rental agreement and everyone lost their damn minds when I took away the access. They tried covering them or adjusting them, but I warned them they would be held liable for damage and anything else I could get if they did that again. Now, I get middle fingers and aggressive stances and stares into the cameras. I'm sure I'm missing things. I just can't sleep and I'm swamped with getting them out, with work, and with trying to fill their places, and getting the basement redone before going back on the market. Comments. Commenter 1, who needs enemies, eh? Like, that they saw the rental prices, that they know you were giving them a good deal, and still blame you, is ridiculous. Just selfish groupthink. I'd say they all have a lot of growing up to do. I think you were absolutely right to call a halt to it. Horrible way to live. Good luck. Commenter 2, I'm reading it and it's hard to believe they are in their upper 20s. All of the situation looks like child tantrums. Them lying on the floor writhing, because a candy wasn't bought. Damping good food into the bin and the sink. WTF, I wish for no further complications for the OP. Commenter 3, holy cow, these people are entitled and incredibly dumb for still piling on. Glad it's underway, and congrats on learning to fix a flat. Hope the flat was not caused by your tenants from hell. Reply, I hadn't even thought of that. That makes me very uneasy. Beer61, I feel so bad for you. I am surprised that your sisters are not moving to the same place together. Remind the 27 years old that she had a good thing until SHE ruined it. She has no one but herself to thank for the situation. Put a calendar and keep a countdown on it. At least it's a visual that it's coming to an end. Stories number 2. Aita for reminding my husband's father and stepmother that legally my husband isn't their son anymore. My husband lost his mom when he was 4.5 years old. She was hit by a drunk driver and died instantly. At the time of her death she was pregnant and my husband's sibling died too. His dad remarried when he was 6 and a year later my husband was legally adopted by his stepmother. This wasn't something they discussed with my husband or asked for his feelings on. It was just something that they did and it had the full support of the adult members of his dad's family who felt that all children needed a mother and that he should be raised by her if something were to happen to his dad. There was bad blood between his mom and dad's family even before the two married. He never knew why and still doesn't. His mom's family has no idea and neither do cousins on his dad's side. The adoption is something my husband always resented and he never bonded with his stepmother. He never called her mom or sought out her comfort or love. He never loved her back either. As a kid he was a runaway a couple of times and when he was on the cusp of turning 17 he left and moved in with a maternal uncle for a few months before moving to his grandparents' house. Once he was with them he asked for an adult adoption which they agreed to. His father and stepmother swore they were done with him after this but they always expected him to come crawling back begging for them to forgive him and love him. But he never has. He's had very minimal contact with them. And only because he's close to a few cousins on that side. They weren't invited to our wedding and were never notified when we started having kids. Our kids don't even know who they are even though they have seen them at a distance twice. We recently attended a birthday party for two of his cousins' children and his father and stepmother approached me and tried to get me on their side to make my husband talk to them but I shut them down. Then they told me I was denying them a relationship with their grandchildren and that my husband is their son and I should be encouraging the relationship between everybody. I reminded them that legally he isn't their son anymore and I told my husband they wouldn't leave me alone. We tried harder to keep our distance because they were pissed but the two would not stop approaching us with their anger at my choice of words. So we told his cousin who was hosting that we were leaving and then the cousin kicked them out too. It started a fight between the cousins on my husband's side and the rest of the family and I was blamed. One of my husband's paternal aunts used a second Facebook account that she uses for her MLM crap and she told him that I had no right to be so rude to my FIL and MIL and it was insulting to rub his petty choice in their face. My husband blocked her second account and went back to it but even the cousins are getting crap over what I said. So Aita for saying what I did to them. Stories number 3. Aita for ruining my best friend's wedding and likely our decades-long friendship. So this happened just a few days ago and I'm still feeling guilty over what happened. This weekend was my best friend Christian's 30M wedding, and I, 30M, had the honor of being the best man. Christian and I have been best friends for almost 20 years, he was the best man at my own wedding, our wives are close too, all that good stuff. The night of the rehearsal dinner arrives, everyone's ready to have a great time. Then, about 10 minutes into the event, I look over and notice that my wife, Jasmine, 30F, is shaking and talking in a panic about something to one of the other bridesmaids. I walk over to see what's up, and the bridesmaid tells me she just witnessed Christian's dad Robert, 50s M, walk up to my wife and rub her ass multiple times. Then he says to Jasmine, loud enough for the other bridesmaid and her 10-year-old daughter to hear, mind you, essentially, I get to touch you now because it's my son's wedding. I'm 20 feet away, Robert's wife is 20 feet away, Christian is 20 feet away, didn't seem to stop Robert though. I immediately see red, but my wife begs me not to do anything. Let me tell you that in over a decade together with Jasmine, I've never once allowed something like this to just slide, and frankly, there's been hardly anyone who had the balls to disrespect my wife at all while I'm around. I'm trying my best not to walk up and deck the guy as hard as I can. If he weren't my best friend's dad and it wasn't a wedding, I'd 100% have ended up in jail for doing something violent. Mind you, I've known Robert about as long as I've known Christian, always thought he was cool before this, maybe this old dude thought that meant we were cool enough that he could assault my wife whenever he wants. Finally I lose my cool and walk up to Robert who's nearby kind of by himself. I put my arm around him and say, hey Robert, no more of that shit. He plays dumb at first, acting like he doesn't know what I mean. So I repeat myself, you know what I'm talking about. No more of that shit. Finally he seems to get it, stutters some kind of okay, and we go our separate ways. It should have stopped there. Unfortunately, it seems some of Robert's family may have overheard what happened. All of a sudden, rumors are flying all across the wedding, people know something happened. People are giving my wife dirty looks as Robert and his wife disappear for hours, presumably to fight. Whatever, we get through rehearsal night. Then, the next morning, as people are getting ready, Robert approaches me alone and tries to give me a little, we cool, fist bump. It's been less than 12 hours since it happened at this point, so I tell him flat out, no, we're not cool. Still, he doesn't get the picture. Hour later while the bridesmaids are getting ready, he approaches me again and asks, where's Jasmine? She getting dressed right now. I see red again immediately and say, don't fucking talk about her. He gets all offended and walks away. Luckily this was my last direct interaction with him for the weekend. Of course though, Robert then decides it's time to go find my wife, again while I'm not there, and try to apologize. Jasmine just says, "Get away from me." Finally Robert gets it, we don't want apologies, we want to be left alone. Still, the vibe is off the rest of the time. Robert is sulking, his wife is giving Jasmine dirty looks, and Christian's entire family are whispering every time we're around. It eventually apparently got back to Christian. He never talked to me about what happened, never checked in to see if my wife was okay. For reference, I would defend his new wife to the grave if anyone ever tried the same shit with her. The kicker was at the end of the weekend, he said goodbyes to everyone but Jasmine and I. Seems pretty clear to me he's chosen sides, and we haven't spoken since. Should I have just let it slide? 5% of me says yes for the sake of peace and my friendship with Christian, but 95% of me also says I stopped something worse from happening. Reminder that the guy couldn't keep his hands to himself for more than 10 minutes into the rehearsal. TLDR, confronted my best friend's dad after he openly assaulted my wife at a wedding. It ruined the whole vibe of the wedding, and I seem to have lost my best friend. Edit, appreciate you all so much. This is making me realize the position my friend is in is likely extremely awkward and that we need to have a conversation. At the wedding itself I really wanted nothing to get back to him ruin the wedding, which is why we haven't talked about it. We all just got home last night. Jasmine and Christian's wife are meeting up for usual drinks tomorrow night, and Jasmine has resolved to tell her everything. They are very close, so I am sure Christian's wife will believe my wife. That being said, I'm not sure where things will ultimately fall. In the meantime, coming days, I do have to come up with a way to reach out to Christian. I want to keep the friendship if I can for sure. We've been through honestly everything together. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, your wife's safety and well-being come first, always. His actions were unacceptable sexual assault, and anyone excusing it, including your friend, is wrong. Reply, thank you, I needed to hear this honestly. Commenter 2, Nta, you didn't ruin anything, creepy old man did. I understand your friend is in an odd position. Maybe talk it out when some time has passed, or move on. You are fine either way. Honestly, based on his behavior he would have 100% escalated things with your wife had you not intervened. Reply, that was my worry, and if not my wife, then someone else. There were plenty of young women at the wedding, some of them still basically kids. I shudder to think what else may have happened. You are right though, I am hoping Christian is just trying to figure things out and hasn't totally abandoned our friendship, but we'll see. Does Christian know the real story? Reply, honestly I don't know what he knows right now. My wife and his wife are meeting up tomorrow for drinks, so I have to think it will come up. I didn't even mention that Christian's wife has a long history of her own problems with Robert and Robert's wife, so it's not like she'll be coming to defend them lol. Has Robert done something like this in the past? Reply, TBH, yes, one time 2 years ago Jasmine thought she might have felt him tap her on the ass at a gathering. My dumbass tried to give him the benefit of the doubt because even she wasn't sure, but now I'm 1000% sure it happened. Update. Alright guys, thank you again to everyone who gave me advice. You're all strangers and yet you couldn't have been kinder to me in a trying time. For your sake I wish I could say this one has a more interesting ending, but most of you were right. Christian is disgusted by his dad and is fully on Jasmine and I's side. We're still bros, and he apologized profusely to my wife when she stopped over to meet up with his wife. We've spoken since and all is good now. Who knows how Christian's relationship with Robert will go from here on out, but all things considered I'm fine with where things landed. Sorry for anyone expecting more drama, but I'm just glad to have my brother back. TLDR, my buddy is a good guy, and we're all good. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, great news. Out of curiosity though, as Christian hadn't even said goodbye to you and your wife as well as his mum giving Jasmine dirty looks, what was the actual rumor being spread around, because it sounds like something framing Jasmine as the bad guy went around. Reply, he was embarrassed and sad from what I understand, that's all. TBH, he's like a little brother to me, I get it would have been hard to confront me. Commenter 2, I am glad he understands the full story and stands by you and your wife. Commenter 3, communication is key. I am happy for all of you, congrats on Buddy's wedding, and fuck Robert. Stories number 4, you sure showed me. I'll just tear up this check for $3,500 and you get nothing. You lose. Good day. When I was a property shepherd for banks that foreclosed on properties, I was often asked to see if the occupants would accept money in exchange for surrendering the property in clean, intact condition and skipping the eviction. I had nothing to do with the foreclosure or eviction and they used me because the lawyers charged hundreds of dollars an hour for that kind of thing. They prepared the offer, I presented it, if they said yes the bank sent me a check, I inspected the house and if it was clean and intact handed over the check. Important note, there was an eviction clock running. If I did not report that they had complied with the agreement the eviction would proceed. They did not stop that process unless I was successful, so I was helpless to grant extra time to move out beyond. The agreement says be out by the 14th, you are working hard, the bank is closed, I can come back first thing in the morning and if you are done I'll release the check and tell the bank you complied. I was dealing with a couple in a 4,000 square foot house. They had been fighting the foreclosures, then fighting the eviction and the bank and lawyers were sick of them. I delivered the offer. $3,500 to be out in 2 weeks. It was explicitly clear that I was not from the bank. I was not from the lawyer's office. They showed up at my office anyway and tried to convince us to sell them the house. The house which was not for sale. Which they couldn't afford or they wouldn't be facing eviction. Which wasn't ours. They didn't like any of those truths, said we had better start checking under our car before starting it up and stormed out. They wanted the money and I always did what little I could to help people make the deadline. I always offered to come by a few days early and point out what needed to be clean. Normal wear and tear. No problem. Stained carpet. This isn't a security deposit so unless it was a fresh, intentional stain I didn't care. Missing fixtures. That's a problem. Unwept floors. Problem. Bags of rotting food in the garage. You get the picture. I went over for a pre-inspection. Not even close. I pointed out what needed to happen. They asked if they could have the check now to hire cleaners, and they would totally have it ready in time. Being ugly, not stupid I declined and said I would see them on the date they agreed to. I show up. They hadn't cleaned up anything since my previous visit. They demanded the check anyway. They worked hard to come up with excuses. They were tired after threatening to kill me with a car bomb. They needed the money for the down payment on another house. Won't I do them a favor? They will do anything for the check except clean. I marked them non-compliant and left, returning the check to the lawyer's office. A week later the lawyer's office told me I was free to take possession of the house and start my processes. Still lots of trash. Grime everywhere. Many missing light fixtures. Best of all they had taken all of the towel racks and toilet paper holders, ripping them straight out of the wall along with significant chunks of drywall. They sure taught me a lesson by damaging a house that wasn't mine. And for skipping at best 3 hours of cleaning they lost out on $3,500 even though they deserved that money for being stressed. Stories number 5. My 40F husband, 42M, told me our daughter's friend, 18F, tried it on with him. I didn't react well. Sorry if you see me posting in other subs it keeps getting removed. The last couple of weeks my husband has been very quiet and not sleeping well. I've asked him a couple of times if he's okay and he said yes but I could tell something was bothering him. On Saturday he said he needs to talk to me and burst into tears. I made us a cup of tea and sat down with him. He just blurted it out and said Ava, our daughter's friend, had been coming on to him and he doesn't know what to do. He said it started when he made a cake for her 18th birthday party. She messaged him saying she got his number from our daughter and thank you for the cake. She then sent a lot of photos of herself in the dress she wore for the party. He just replied saying it looked a fun party. She then messaged asking if he could look at her car for her as it was making a funny noise. She came round and he looked and said it was the brakes. He told me this at the time so he wasn't hiding anything. She came round when our daughter was home but I wasn't and she went inside while my husband worked on the car outside. When it was done she came out alone and said she had no money on her and he said that's fine just bring it round whenever or give it to our daughter. She then said she can pay another way and in his words, flashed me and I said I've got to go and went inside closing the door. I read through all the messages and he never replied to any of them after this incident and that afternoon she messaged him saying, thanks for doing my car for me. You're cute when you're shy. She's messaged him hundreds of times since asking if he's alone, asking for lifts, asking if thinks she's pretty and she's sent loads of pics from fully clothed to fully nude. My husband has said he doesn't know whether to reply, to talk to her parents, to talk to me. He said he's scared he's going to ruin our daughter's life if this comes out. I don't know why but I suddenly exploded. I called him a pervert, I said he must have led her on, I said he must have paid her as he's far too old and ugly for her, I called him disgusting and said I want him out the house, I said he's ruined our daughter's life and plenty of other awful things. I stormed out the house and when I came back an hour later he was gone. Over the last couple of days I've calmed down and realized he's done nothing wrong and I've reacted awfully. I've tried ringing and messaging him but he's not responding. Why did I react like that and how do I apologize to him? What do we do about these messages? Do we talk to her or her parents? TLDR, our daughter's friend has been coming on to my husband. I blamed him. Edit. It's 5 a.m. here in the UK now and I'm going to drive to his brother's house now where he's staying as I know he leaves for work about 6 and I'm going to try and talk to him face to face. I've got flowers, chocolates and wearing his favorite outfit. I'll let you all know what happens. Update my 40F, husband, 42M, told me our daughter's friend, 18F, tried it on with him. I didn't react well, so I went round to my husband's brother's yesterday morning at 5:30 a.m. to wait for him to leave for work so I could talk to him. I wore his favorite dress of mine and took him chocolate, flowers and a letter I'd wrote for him. The talk went how a lot of you wanted it to go. He told me he'd spoken to a lawyer and he wanted a divorce. He said he can't get past what I said, and as soon as he laid eyes on me he felt nothing but anxiety and a need to run. He said he'll never get over what I said and how I acted, and that's that. I know I deserve this, but I am still incredibly heartbroken. Last night he also met up with our daughter and told her everything, and she is also not talking to me and said she's going to live with her dad when this is over. She also said her friend has been saying for years that she fancies my husband but thought it was just stupid talk and she wouldn't actually do anything. She's still friends with Ava but told her she will fall out with her if she does anything else. My husband had also spoken to the girl's parents, who didn't really seem to give a shit. They said she's 18 and can do what she wants, and they are sorry she's tried to get with a married man, but they can't ban her from talking to people, and she'll be going to uni in September, so they don't want to cause any unrest before she goes. My husband said he felt a lot more relaxed once he'd spoken to them and our daughter, so hopefully he can sleep now. TLDR, everyone knows now. I'm the bad guy. Ava got away with no punishment. Edit, I'm too drunk to reply, I'll reply tomorrow. X. Stories number 6. AITH for giving my wife an ultimatum on her male best friend due to what he did before our wedding years ago. My wife and I have been married for about 5 years. And something I learned from her male friend's GF was that he confessed his love to my wife the night before. She told me they got into a fight about this, and figured I should know. So I confronted my wife about this, and she admitted it. I yelled at her, and asked how the fuck she could keep this from me and how the fuck she thought it was appropriate to have him at our wedding. She told me she didn't want to ruin our wedding day, and I told she's not fuck stupid enough to not know I'd want to know this. See, this male friend always made me uneasy from the start. She told me that she has no feelings for him. After this, if I trust her. I told her that if she even wants me to consider staying with her, she needs to cut off her friend. Top comment. I had something similar happen to me with my female friend a week before my wedding. She told me she loved me and sent me nudes of herself. My mom didn't raise no fool though. I told my now wife right away. I'm sure if I would have tried to hide something like that, I probably would be divorced today. This friend was known to hang out with both my wife and me quite a bit. Been married 13 years now. And yes, my wife had me go NC with this ex-friend. A very downvoted comment. YTA, not so much for the ultimatum than for the concept of not trusting your wife at all. If you don't trust her even after 5 years of marriage, you never will. Replies. She lied to me. She know fully well that this is something I'd want to know. Of course I'm not trusting her right now. Another downvoted comment. She didn't stop the wedding. You won. She married you. Why would she ruin the wedding over someone else's feelings that she didn't share? And why are you so upset about it 5 years later? Come on. Move on. Replies. 'Cause she still hangs with this guy at least once a week. Same commenter. He has a girlfriend. He's moved on. He's obviously not pining away for her. I understand you would be upset, but considering it was 5 years ago and she's still with you, not with him, it sounds like everyone has moved on, as adults do. Replies. Ex-girlfriend. She literally told me they had a fight over this because he's still obsessed with my wife. Update. We are currently separated, and I am in the process of divorcing my wife. Honestly, her hesitation of making a choice was too much for me. Just the fact that she needed so long to cut this guy out after he crossed the line and that she has so much trouble making it right for me speaks volumes to me. When I told her this, and that I was leaving her, she tried to convince me and say she will cut him off. I told her it was too late at that point. I told her I don't trust her. I don't want to be with her. I don't want to deal with her again. I've been staying with a friend right now. One thing I wanted to address about my last post that kept coming up. Some of you said he's over her. He has a GF, and I gotta say, you must be actually brain dead or can't read. His ex-girlfriend literally told me they got in a fight about this because he wasn't over my wife. That's literally why I found out. 'Cause his ex told me about it. His girlfriend was another person caught up in this shit. Top comment. Honestly, her hesitation of making a choice was too much for me. Wow, I get it. WTF was there to hesitate about. Hope you're doing okay, this is a lot. Edit. Added comments from the original post where OOP explains that the friend's GF had broken up with the friend by the time he found out about the confession. Stories number 7. My grandfather had a 4-year-old daughter before he died. My whole family wants to send her to an orphanage. I said I'll take her, and now everything in my life is upside down. Hi. I'm 23M, and this week my entire life changed. 3 days ago, my grandfather passed away. He was 78. He had 2 kids, my mom and my uncle. I'm the youngest in our family, or at least I thought I was. My family is very big. During the wake, a huge bomb dropped on all of us. It turns out my grandfather had a 4-year-old daughter, with a cleaning lady who used to help him around the house. The woman is gone and no one knows where she went. The girl's name is Lenka, and she's tiny, quiet, and completely alone. And everyone in my family hates her. At the funeral, nobody would even look at her. I saw her curled up in the corner of the room, like she was trying to disappear. And the only conversation anyone had was who's not going to take her. They all agreed she should be sent to an orphanage. I don't know what happened to me at that moment, but I snapped. I walked over to her, knelt down, smiled, and asked, "Would you like to live with me?" She didn't say anything. Just slowly nodded. And that was it. That night, Lenka came home with me. She had been staying with my cousin for a few days, and Nika handed me her health card and basically said good luck. I'm a 23-year-old guy living alone in a small apartment in eastern Slovakia. I work from home. I pay rent. I'm not rich. I've never raised a child. I'm still an external university student. I go to school on weekends. But she came with me. And she's been here since. That night she didn't say a word on the car ride. I showed her my apartment, gave her food. She barely reacted. Later that night, while I was trying to sleep, I broke. It was 2 a.m. and I was crying like I haven't cried in years. I kept thinking, what the hell am I doing? How can I raise a child when I'm just a kid myself? My family won't help. Everyone will judge me. She's not even technically my niece, she's my aunt. Yeah. That part's wild. She's my mom's half-sister. Which makes her my aunt. But she's 4. I couldn't sleep at all that night. Around 3 a.m. we had a little accident. She wet the bed. She didn't cry. She just tried to hide the blanket like she didn't want me to find out. My heart cracked in half. I told her everything's okay and helped her clean up. In the morning, I explained we needed to go shopping for her things. We walked to the store only 5 minutes away, but it took us 15. She was trying to be independent and didn't want to hold my hand. But on the way back, she was so tired she almost collapsed on the sidewalk. I asked if I could carry her, and she said no at first, but after a few more steps, I picked her up anyway. She looked annoyed, but didn't resist. We made it home. I made her breakfast, thank you to the friend who gave me ideas, then told her we had to go to some offices so I could become her guardian. I thought I'd just drop off the papers. Instead, the whole process started immediately. It was chaos. I brought every document I had, my ID, death certificate, her health card, a letter I wrote asking for emergency temporary custody. But when I got to the child services office, one woman tore me apart. She was cold and cruel and basically called me a stupid boy to my face. You're just a kid. You can't raise another kid. You don't even have rights to her. She's better off with her mother. And she said all of this in front of Lenka, who was sitting quietly in my lap. I looked down and saw tears running down her face. At first, I didn't even notice, just felt her little body trembling. She was crying silently. I gently apologized to the woman, stood up, and said we'd come back later. I took Lenka outside and walked her to a little ice cream shop nearby. We sat together in silence. I explained we'd have to go back and talk to the mean lady, but I promised I'd stay with her the whole time. She nodded. Back inside, the woman didn't get any nicer, but she did explain what would happen next. Basically exactly what I had read online: social workers will visit us. They'll try to contact her mother. If they find her, she may get legal priority. But I'm going to fight this. Because if that woman abandoned Lenka once, she'll do it again. And I won't let that happen. Now it's late again. I'm completely drained. And I need to say this somewhere: I love this kid. I've known her for 3 days and I'd do anything to protect her. But I'm falling apart inside. I work from home, which is the only reason this is even possible. But on weekends I go to university, and I'll probably have to give that up. There's no babysitting culture here in Slovakia, especially not in a small town like ours. I'm selling my motorcycle so I'll have more money for her. I'm terrified I'll never find a girlfriend because what 23-year-old wants a boyfriend with a 4-year-old? I feel like I traded everything I used to be, for someone who deserves a better life. And I don't regret it, but I'm scared. And tired. And trying not to break. I don't even know why I'm posting this. I just needed to let it out. If you read all this, thank you really. And if anyone's been through something similar, any advice would mean the world. Comments. Commenter 1. I don't have any advice, but as someone who grew up unwanted I do want to tell you thank you for taking her in and wanting to fight for her. It means so much more than you will ever know. Reply, thank you. I needed this. Commenter 2. You are a good person and I am rooting for you. Commenter 2. Thanks, any advice? Commenter 3. Firstly, document everything. Don't let the horrible social worker get to you, you're a hero to little Lenka right now. Seek out some parenting forums, single dad groups or even local churches and community centers that may have resources can offer support. Children thrive on predictability, so having some semblance of a routine will help you both. Make sure that includes a little breathing space for yourself. Lenka's trauma won't vanish overnight and patience is everything. You are already taking small steps of trust. You don't have to be perfect, just keep showing up for her. You learn as you go and are more than enough right now. I am sure your grandfather will be looking over you. Commenter 4. When someone says document everything, it does mean as literal much as you can. In the beginning, take a full body, clothed, picture of her every month. Stick it in a binder with a piece of paper where you write out her height and weight. Write notes like what she likes to eat and watch and play and what books you're reading to her. This serves two purposes. You can prove she is healthy, growing and cared for. You can also prove you are caring for her and know things about her. It also gives you a regular current photo in case mom tries to show up and yoink her. It may sound tedious or annoying, but it will be so worthwhile one day when she grows up and you can show her what she was like as a little person. Commenter 5. You will never be sorry that you stood up for her. I don't know anything about what you need to do to get formal custody of her, but I'd guess a lawyer would be useful. Aside from custody, surely she would be entitled to your grandfather's estate. Good luck to you, OP. I am sending the two of you hugs. Reply, I can't afford a lawyer, but I will fight. Thank you. Commenter 6. I don't know laws in your country, but your grandfather has an estate and she should be entitled to something as his child. That will help offset raising her. Not sure what death benefits look like for children with deceased parents that still need support. Look into those options as well. Reply, the entire land and house were already decided and divided between my mom and uncle about 10 years ago. That's what the will says. If I wanted to fight this proposal, I would have to hire a lawyer. At least Grandpa left me a field and some plots of forest land. Update. Hi everyone, I just wanted to make a quick update to thank you all. My last update is still waiting for approval from the admins, probably because I asked people for financial help to pay for a lawyer, but I won't do that again. I hate myself for doing it in the first place. I sold my motorcycle and I'll manage somehow on my own. Thank you all for your kind words and encouragement. I really needed to hear that. I tried to reply to as many comments as I could, but there are just too many. Lenka is doing well. She finally started smiling. I introduced her to my neighbor, an older lady who never had children. She looked after Lenka while I went to get her toys from her grandfather's house. She also has a dog, and Lenka just can't stop playing with it. One night, Lenka found me crying. She sleeps in my bed and I've taken the couch. I guess she must have heard me. She came to me and asked if I was crying because of her. Of course I said no. And when she hugged me, my heart shattered into a million pieces. I will protect that child. She's mine and I'll do anything for her. Hi, if you're reading this, thank you. I want to ask you for help. It's very uncomfortable for me to ask for help like this, but I have no other options. Lenka needs toys and new clothes. She is still playing with toys that probably belong to my mom. I went to charity for new clothes, but there wasn't much. Please, if you're reading this and have toys from your child lying around at home, I kindly ask you to contact me. Please. Comments. Commenter 1. Oh, you are a wonderful person and I'm sure there will be lots of women who would want a man with a heart like yours. What you do for that kid is selfless and kind and good. And she will be forever grateful for the one person who stood by her when all the others failed. I am not sure whether is it affordable to get her into therapy, but I strongly suggest is for the both of you. I wish you all the best. Reply, yes, I'm planning to take her to a therapist. In Slovakia, if you pay for health insurance, it's free. I'm paying for her health insurance, and I also paid extra for various injuries and so on. Commenter 2. Some small advice. You're doing amazing and I admire your humanity and resolve. Childcare is tiring though in body and soul, and it would be easy to slide into a world of putting Lenka first and only Lenka. This will burn you out. There will be times where it's in her best interest to come second and to put yourself first. You're sleeping on the sofa. You need to work out a way of getting a proper sofa bed. It doesn't have to be new and you can sometimes pick them up for cheap or even free in local groups. You have to make sure that you're sleeping well because if you're not then it will affect your mood, your health and your parenting relationship with Lenka. Socializing being a single parent will mean that you almost never go out and run the risk of getting cut off socially. Look at something like D&D which can be played online through Discord Roll20 which will give you access to adult conversation. Take the opportunity if she's invited to a sleepover to go out and see friends even if you think you could just sleep for 1,000 years. Your mental health is important. You're doing great but don't lose sight of your own well-being. Reply, thank you for the advice. My friend offered to sell me his son's bed, so I should be back in my own bed in a few days, at least I hope so. And oh God. I didn't even think about that. Since she's been with me, I haven't gone out with my friends even once. I really need to look into that. Thank you. Commenter 3. Take her with you to meet your friends and hang out. As a single parent I brought my kid everywhere and she was just my little sidekick and I got to socialize, and she got to socialize and it was helpful to both our growth. Reply, yes, I will probably do that. I belong to a motorcycle club or at least I used to, because I sold my motorcycle, but everyone in the club is incredibly kind. I'll take her bowling with us. Stories number 8. Aita for refusing to give my ex full access to my life just because we co-parent. I, 25F, have a 6-month-old baby with my ex, 24M, and we've been trying to co-parent since we split a few months ago but now he's saying I'm being an asshole for not telling him everything I do when the baby isn't even with me. We were together from high school, 2015, up until recently. Our breakup happened shortly after I gave birth, when I found out he had been cheating with multiple women. His excuse? That I wasn't being sexual enough postpartum and he had a high libido. Yeah, that was enough for me to walk away. Since then, I've been rebuilding my life. I got more involved in my church, formed new friendships, and started feeling like myself again for the first time in a while. I've also done everything I can to keep things calm and respectful for the sake of our baby. But now, he's making it an issue that I don't share details about my personal life with him. He says I should be more transparent and that it's important for co-parenting. He wants to know who I'm hanging out with, what I'm doing, who my new friends are, even if I'm just out while he has the baby. His reasoning? He tells me about what he's doing, so I should do the same. But here's the thing, I've never asked him for any of that information. He voluntarily tells me, I'm about to hang out with this girl, or I've been seeing someone new, even when our child is not in his care at the time. It's his personal time, and I've told him I don't need or want those updates. Yet now he's acting like because he shares that info with me, I owe him the same level of openness, even though I've never requested it and it's unrelated to our child. He's also been following some of my new friends on social media and asking me questions about them. My account is private, so I don't know how he's even finding them. I suspect he's using a burner account or he's viewing my church's page who posts pictures of me and the people I hang out with at times. I had to ask them to stop posting me. We have a photography team that takes pictures during service or after service and post them online for media purposes, for a while because I believe he was using those posts to find my friends and follow them. He's never reached out to any of them, but the whole thing feels really creepy and invasive. It's crossing a boundary for me. I've talked to some friends about this, and their opinions are mixed. Some say he has a point that we should be transparent with each other since we share a child. Others think he's overstepping and that this isn't part of normal co-parenting, especially since our child hasn't met any of these people and I'm not dating anyone right now. Even my mom is siding with him. She's liked him since we were together in high school, and any time we argued, she tended to take his side and ask what I did wrong. Now she's saying I should be open about who I'm hanging out with, to better co-parent. That makes me question myself even more. I'm not trying to be an asshole or difficult. I believe in healthy boundaries. If someone's going to be around my child, I'll share that. But just living my life and seeing friends when my baby isn't with me? I don't think I owe him a play-by-play. So now I'm wondering Aita for keeping parts of my life private from my child's father when it doesn't involve our child. Edit to add. Wow, I genuinely didn't expect this post to get the attention it has. I know everyone says that, but seriously I thought maybe 4 people would comment. Thank you so much to everyone who's taken the time to give advice or even just offer support. I've been reading through everything, and it's given me a lot to think about. A lot of people have mentioned co-parenting apps, which I honestly didn't know much about before, but I'll definitely be looking into that. Having a structured and more monitored way to communicate feels like something I really need at this point. There's no court order in place right now, but I've been heavily considering it. Lately, he's been more and more insistent about knowing the details of my personal life, especially if he thinks I'm spending time with male friends. He doesn't just ask casually, he demands to know who I'm with, even when the baby's not involved at all. I personally don't feel like I owe him that kind of access, but it's becoming a consistent pressure, and I'm starting to feel like court might be the only way to establish clear boundaries. Some people have asked why my mom seems to be on his side. I touched on this in a comment, but for context, my mom has always been very male-centered. She tends to take the man's side in most situations. She did the same thing to my sister during her marriage issues. When I told her about the cheating, her response was, well, men don't just cheat for no reason. What weren't you doing? She's never really supported me in situations like this. I also think a lot of it stems from her own past. My dad cheated on her a lot, and she stayed with him. She genuinely sees cheating as something normal that couples should just work through. So no, she wasn't supportive of me leaving my ex, and she still says I should have given him more attention during that time. On top of that, some people mentioned the possibility that he's only sharing info about the girls he sees to make me jealous, and honestly, I 1000% believe that. I never ask him about what he's doing when the baby's not with him, but he offers up these updates like, oh, I'm hanging out with this girl, or I've been seeing someone. I think he expected me to react, but I really don't care, and I think the fact that I'm not reacting is what's frustrating him, so now he's trying to flip the script and demand transparency from me. Also, some of y'all suspect my mom might be feeding him info about me, and I hate to say it, but I wouldn't be surprised. She watches my baby sometimes when I go to church events or other things like that, and her and my ex are still Facebook friends, and I believe she still has his number. She brings him up constantly, even saying stuff like, he's way cuter than the guy you said was cute, and things like that. So yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if she's told him I've been out, or who I might be with. I am taking a step back from her and what I tell her, and taking a step back from having her watch my child for the time being. Anyway, thanks again for all the insight. I really appreciate it. It's helped me feel a lot less crazy for being uncomfortable with all this. Stories number 9. Aita for telling my client if she doesn't pay then I will cut her hair. I had a client, a new one to be exact. Before her appointment we've talked about the prices and why time she would want to do it. She showed me everything and told me what she wanted, so it was my job to deliver. My deposit is $20, so she had to pay that before the actual appointment. She wanted to come in the shop very early. Her appointment was at 7 a.m, she was getting small long knotless. I charged $200 for that style. She knew and was okay with it. The day of she came in, she is pregnant, so she was a little late, but I gave her grace and she came with a small child. She was very young, 17, but she was nice. Anyways, I started braiding and pre-parting. I already had 3 rows down. Time passed and I was almost finished. In between I did show her how it looked and she liked it. Finally I was done. The girl was texting someone while I was putting mousse on her hair. That's when I asked her about the payment. Before she already told me she would pay with Cash App or Zelle. But her entire demeanor changed. She started to come up with excuses. I told her the price again and she said she doesn't remember it being $200, showed her the proof. She told me she didn't have money on Cash App, so she needed to go to the back. Mind you, the nearest bank was 30 minutes away, so I knew what she was trying to do. I told her if she wasn't trying to pay then I will have to cut her braids, or she could sit down and take them out individually. That's when she started yelling and crying, saying this is the worst shop she came to. Her daughter was crying too. That's when she got up trying to leave the shop without paying, so I did have to call the cops. Stories number 10. Aita for telling my BL that someone is going to punch his girlfriend one day. My older sister recently got married to her longtime fiancé. They are polyamorous and both have a separate partner each. I have met my sister's boyfriend a few times at holiday events and he was really nice. My brother-in-law's girlfriend, we'll call her Sally, I've met once before at their engagement party and she seemed nice, but she also seemed like the type of person who wants to be the center of attention. She talked over everyone, insisted on helping my sister open any gifts they received, and she even told people that she's the reason my sister and my BL were getting married because she's officiating the wedding. It all rubbed me the wrong way, but as long as my sister and BL were cool with it, who was I to say anything? Things did get a little weird towards the end of the party, however, because Sally got pretty drunk and started very loudly proclaiming how monogamy was ruining relationships and was disgusting. That the only reason people aren't open with their love is because they are scared, insecure, jealous, and controlling. This made most of the people left at the party visibly uncomfortable, and most left soon after because she wouldn't stop, even after my BL took her aside and told her to calm down. I was helping my sister clean up from the party when Sally started questioning me about my stance. My boyfriend had to work so he wasn't at the party. My sister tried to squash the discussion, but Sally ignored her and asked again. I very calmly explained that I tried polyamory once and quickly realized it wasn't for me, and that I was now in a very happy monogamous relationship but totally support non-monogamous relationships. Sally started to say something, but my sister very firmly told her that she was drunk and to go lay down. She rolled her eyes but did stomp back to the bedroom. My sister then explained how Sally was usually very nice but did make being poly her whole personality, which had caused problems before. Flash forward a few weeks later to the wedding itself, everything went great. It was beautiful and everyone seemed happy. During the reception my boyfriend and I were talking to my mom and Sally approached us to say hi. She's met my mom quite a few times and my mom is the type to love everyone. My mom reintroduced me and also introduced my boyfriend. Nothing seemed off, we all said our pleasantries and that was it. A little later, my boyfriend went to get some drinks for us while I danced with my sister. It was taking him longer than I expected, so I went to go looking for him. To my surprise, he was being cornered by Sally near the drink table. His back was literally to the wall and every time he took a step away from her, she would step closer. She was also rubbing his arm in a flirty way. I couldn't hear what she was saying to him, but the relief on his face when he saw me told me everything I needed to know. The only thing I did hear was her whining, "Oh, come on." I walked up and grabbed my drink from his hand, which finally made her take a few steps back. I asked what they were talking about and she very bluntly and flirtatiously replied, "I was just telling him how much I love gingers." My boyfriend, obviously, is a ginger. I simply told her, as calmly as I could, to stop being a fucking cunt and there were plenty of single people at the wedding she could hit on. She said something back but I was already pulling my boyfriend away and didn't hear nor care. The rest of the night was uneventful other than normal wedding fun. A few days later, my BL texted me to say I needed to apologize to Sally because flirting with people is part of her personality, and she didn't do anything wrong. I told him that one day she's going to come across someone less nice than me and she's going to get her shit rocked. My BL thinks I'm being petty and an asshole, my sister and mom think I was justified and that Sally was being disrespectful. Dr. Brother-in-law's girlfriend hit on my boyfriend and I called her a cunt. BL thinks I should apologize but I refused and told him one day she's going to get punched by someone less nice than me. Aita. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Flirting with people is part of her personality. That's not a personality trait, that's a choice. Flirting with non-single, monogamous people who don't want it is sexual harassment. NTA. I am less nice than you, but my husband, who is freaking gorgeous and gets hit on a lot, is even less nice than me. He scared off my ex-best friend so badly after she propositioned him, that she hasn't popped her head back up in 20 years. And he did it all by using his words. It was glorious. Edited to add, yes, flirting with anyone who does not want it is harassment. I figured that was obvious and added the details to fit this particular case in what I would have said to Sally. Reply. My poor boyfriend is so socially anxious, he just kept telling her, no thank you, even when she wasn't asking a yes or no question. I told him that he doesn't owe any kindness, especially if they are making him uncomfortable, but he just wanted to get away from her and I get that. OP on why she thinks Sally did it. It definitely felt like she was targeting me specifically and my boyfriend became a casualty and victim. Part of me feels like she secretly wanted me to cause a scene and potentially ruin the wedding, but that could also just be me overthinking. This whole thing has also just made me look at my BL in a whole different light. Update 1. Talk to my sister and BL. We are going to get together tonight along with my boyfriend and have a sit-down conversation about this. According to my sister, who read the text exchange between BIL and Sally about the situation, shit isn't adding up. BL wanted to invite Sally so she could defend herself and I absolutely vetoed that. I was not going to have my boyfriend's Hairdresser in the same room as him. I will update once I know more. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. NTA and I can't wait till this becomes a Boro post. Nice to see an OP challenge bullshit in the moment rather than being walked all over then feeling their boundaries being stomped. Come to Aita to question if their feeling was right and that if they stood up for themselves they wouldn't have been wrong. Sorry that this predator cornered your partner, no idea what BL sees in this nutcase. Best of luck OP, thanks for sharing too. Reply. Thank you. I really hate letting things linger when it comes to conflict. I told my sister about the incident the day after the wedding and thought that was that. My concerns were known and my boundaries set. But now knowing Sally's story magically doesn't match mine nor my boyfriend's, I want to get to the bottom of it. Update 2 posted next day June 24, 2025 same post. Update 2, sorry about not posting last night, I needed some time to collect my thoughts. Also sorry for the length. I tried to stick to the most important details but alas, I failed a bit. So, the day after the wedding I told my sister about what happened. She waited until they came back from their honeymoon to tell BL. BL texted Sally about her side of things, and I now understand why he was so mad. Sally told him that all she did was tell my boyfriend he was cute and I overheard, line number 1, and went berserk and, yes called her a C** aunt, but also said a lot of terrible polyphobic things, line number 2. I was shocked that my BL, who has known me for 10+ years, would honestly think I would say something like that. Keep in mind that he's only known Sally for 6-ish months, and he admits she has lied to him before. We got Sally on the phone to hear her side firsthand. Instantly my sister clocked that the story she wrote in text was different from what she said on the phone. I said certain things, then I didn't say those things, then I said other things or did other things. At one point she said I pushed her, but then it became I just reached for her. The whole thing was a mess. And before the Reddit police come for me saying this was an interrogation and we were putting pressure on her and she was scared, and that's why her story kept changing, my boyfriend and I literally didn't talk unless asked a direct question. My BL had a baby voice the whole time and called her sweetie and baby. My sister was polite but direct to all of us, which I'm not surprised because she hates drama and just wanted to get this over with lol. Anyway, after the back and forth, Sally admitted that she did only remember me calling her a scent that night, but that, if I said that, I must have said other things and she just couldn't remember clearly. Honestly and truly, what the fuck? She also still insisted she only called my boyfriend cute, but Missy ma'am, you just sat there for 45 minutes lying. Why would I believe the words of a known liar over my boyfriend who, to my knowledge, hasn't lied to me in the whole 3 years we've been together? Make it make sense. After we hung up, my BL apologized to us. He said Sally sounded so hurt in the original texts that he automatically jumped to me underplaying the events and my boyfriend overplaying the events. He's not sure if he will break up with her. Which, personally, I think is a little crazy, but whatever, that's his prerogative. Luckily, my sister and him don't throw parties or events normally, so even if he stays with Sally, I doubt I'll ever see her again. Probably not the satisfying ending everyone wanted, but it's what we have. Thank you to everyone who sent support and kind words during this bizarre time. Stories number 11. Aita for not cooking fancier meals. I'm the only one who cooks in our house. It's just 4 of us, my husband, me and my daughter and little brother. My husband is 27 and I'm 25. My husband barely knows how to make eggs, even though I've tried to talk to him constantly about learning how to cook. My daughter and brother are still in elementary school, so they only help me cook. The responsibility falls on me and it's honestly exhausting. So, I just set up a system in my head. It's easy. For breakfast it's just something with eggs or cereal. Lunch is some sort of sandwich, burger, or leftovers. Dinner is the meal I usually plan, but I have like 10 dishes I repeat. Sometimes I'll go off, especially Sunday, but generally I stay because it's easier for me mentally. Well, one day I made just pasta Alfredo with chicken, and as we were eating, my husband mentions that it would be nice if I made fancier dishes. I asked him what he meant and he explained he wants me to change things up, add some more meat dishes and variety. Next time, we went out shopping and I was putting ingredients I don't usually buy into the cart. As the ingredients started piling up, my husband was getting all puffy and upset. We got to the meat aisle and I started picking out beef, and that's when my husband lost it and started taking things out of the cart, saying that we can't afford my fancy living. I blinked at him and tried to explain that he was the one who asked for variety and different dishes, so I'm buying different ingredients. He rolled his eyes and told me that I'm being dramatic. I just let him do his thing, taking out most of the ingredients out. The next week, I made the same dishes because that's all I had ingredients for. A week passed and my husband was all pouting that I made fried rice again and that he's sick of chicken. When I pointed out that he took out all the beef out of our cart, he blew up on me again and said I'm being an asshole because he doesn't know how to cook. I'm still in shock at the way that post blew up. I honestly was just to prove a point to my husband, and that post definitely did that and more. So when I showed him the post, he was shocked. Angry for a minute, but then read a few comments, then turned off his phone and acted like it didn't bother him. He didn't talk to me for the rest of the evening, and at night, I woke up to see him reading the comments again but just went back to sleep. I didn't mention it, and the next morning, he was still not really talking much. That evening for dinner when we sat at the table, he finally brought up the post. He asked me if I agreed with what the comments said. I just shrugged and said that yes, I agreed with some. He was quiet after that, and while we were cleaning up, he apologized for his behavior. Then a few days later, he asked if we could start making dinner together every night. It was a bumpy road at first, but honestly after a week, we started enjoying it, and now a few weeks later he's gotten much better and even made a few meals himself. The reason behind his behavior, he admitted, was because his mother has been trying to contact him lately. It's been stressing him out, and one time when she called him, she started talking trash about me, what else is new, and kept mentioning that I'm not feeding him well enough, that he was much happier when he was eating her food. Honestly, I don't even know what she was trying to do. My husband apologized for it and said that he likes my cooking, but let her words get to him. He is talking to his therapist about all this. That's really it. A lot of people asked for the update or for his reaction lol, but there wasn't much. He handled it a lot better than I hoped. He even started joking about some of the comments a few weeks ago and it's become somewhat of an inside joke. Thank you Reddit for helping us through this haha. Life is good, hope you all have a good dinner tonight. Stories number 12. I, 24F, want to break up with my magician boyfriend, 27M, due to his inappropriate magic trick. My boyfriend, 27M, and I, 24F, have been together for 1 year and 3 months. Our relationship has been very loving but has started to get bumpy ever since we moved in together for our 1-year anniversary. A little backstory: I'm in college right now pursuing my master's degree in archaeology while also working as a library clerk to earn money. Whereas my boyfriend works as a magician for parties and events. Despite our different career paths, I've never had a problem with his career choice because it makes him happy. He has always found a way to make every day magical, which has been sweet. About 9-ish months into our relationship I had the opportunity to go on a 2-month archaeological excavation in another country for school. Despite us becoming long distance, he had no problem with me going and he was very happy for me. He would send me gifts, letters, and he even sent things for my colleagues in order to brighten up their days. While we were doing long distance we made plans to move into an apartment when I got back due to how much we missed each other. And a few days after I returned we moved in together, which has been awful so far. Before living together we would see each other a few times a week due to my busy schedule, but now that we live together we see each other all the time. And he has started to do magic all the time. He will make my keys disappear as I'm trying to go to work or school, he tries to practice his card tricks on me while I'm doing homework, he makes the cleaning rag vanish when I ask him to clean, and he has recently done something that makes me want to end the relationship. I have never been in this serious of a relationship before, so I don't want to throw our loving relationship away just because of these bad few months. Last month we were getting steamy and he went down on me, which isn't unusual. While he was going down on me he was saying some dirty talk here and there. I was lost in the moment for obvious reasons, but I snapped out of it when he said, "Oh, how did that get in there?" And I watched him pull a coin from my crotch. He found the coin moment hilarious, but it just took me out of the moment and instantly made me annoyed, so we stopped. Later I told him that him doing the magic in the bedroom made me literally dry up, so I asked him to keep that kind of magic out of the bedroom. He explained to me that he was trying to make me laugh, have fun, and he didn't apologize for it. I talked with some of my friends about it and they thought it was funny, so I figured that I was overreacting and needed to lighten up a bit. But he didn't do any magic tricks in the bedroom for the next few weeks. However, 4 days ago we were having sex and he suddenly started to yell, "OW." So I quickly got off of him and was asking what was wrong. He tells me, "I think there's something in you. Let me check." I laid on the bed like I was at the goddamn gyno because I trusted that if something was wrong then he would find it. After like 2 minutes he says, "Oh, here it is." And I watched as he was pulling up a long ribbon thing that kept going and going and going. It took a second for me to realize that it was one of his magic tools that he had purposely put in me while he was checking to see what he felt. He found it hilarious and couldn't stop laughing while he was pulling the string more and more. I ripped the thing out while doing it and I yelled at him for doing another magic trick like that even though I told him not to. He told me that he was just adding more fun to our sex life and that he wanted to see what the magic trick would look like if it was coming out from a crotch. The original magic trick involves putting the coil thing in your own mouth and pulling out the plastic string for a while. I was pissed off, so I made him go stay at his parents' house for past few days. This morning, I talked with him some more, but he still thinks that it's not a big deal. I get that he's a magician and that he loves magic, but I'm still upset about him breaking that boundary I had set. I'm fine with his magic tricks 85% of the time, but sex is where I draw the line. I am demisexual, so I need to have a strong, trusting, and close relationship with someone before I can even think about having sex with them. So him breaking my boundary has really hurt me and I've lost my trust in him. However, everyone I have talked to about the situation says that what he did was hilarious, and I have been told by multiple people that I'm overreacting, which is why I decided to go to Reddit. We have built a strong relationship and I really saw myself marrying him one day. I fully trusted him and now I don't know if I ever can again. Should we break up? Or can we fix this and stay together? I'm lost, so I'd appreciate any advice. Thanks. Update: I, 24F, want to break up with my magician boyfriend, 27M, due to his inappropriate magic trick. First off, no, this story isn't AI or fake. It's sadly true, but I can understand why people would think that it's AI due to the absurdity of it. Secondly, thank you everyone for the advice in the comments of my previous post. I was lost and looking for some advice because of the uncomfortable situation, and people around me felt differently about it than I did. People in the comments were right and I should trust my own feelings rather than searching for answers from the people around me. That's something that I've struggled with my whole life because my family is very reliant on each other and my parents are both helicopter parents. So I learned from young age that I couldn't trust my own instincts because other people know better. Which is why I asked my friends and mom about the situation. I have a lot more work to do in trusting myself, but at least I'm working on it now. Here's the update. After my previous post, I read through some of the comments and realized that what my boyfriend did would be considered assault. It wasn't something that I had even considered because I was only seeing it as him doing something stupid in the bedroom that broke my boundary and made me uncomfortable. But seeing those comments opened up my eyes a lot. If he was willing to break my boundary only after a year of dating and could do that to me in the bedroom, then what else could he be capable of? I met with him the next day at our apartment and I told him about my feelings, which he didn't seem to care about. I showed him the Reddit post so that he could see that other people were also uncomfortable with what happened. He read through your comments, but when he saw the word assault being used a few times he got really aggravated. I had never seen him that angry before, but he was screaming non-stop and he even whipped my coffee mug across the room. I ended up crying because I was scared, and I think that snapped him back to reality or something because he stopped yelling and was trying to comfort me. I made him leave our apartment again because I didn't want to be around him anymore. That night my friends helped me pack up my stuff and they took me to my parents' house, which is where I'm at now. After I was out of the apartment and safe, I called him and broke up with him over the phone because I didn't feel comfortable doing it in person after his previous reaction. I'm so upset that I wasted over a year of my life dating him and even thinking about a future with him. Thank you all for giving me the courage to follow my feelings and break up with him for good. I really appreciate it. Also, thank you for all the jokes, it's lightened the mood and has helped me feel a bit better about this situation. Yes, Azagreb, the magic is gone and it's time for me to disappear. Stories number 13. Aita for telling my dad's wife I will never consider naming my child after her recently deceased mother. I'm currently 29 weeks pregnant with a girl. My husband and I have already chosen her name, as well as 2 backups in case it doesn't suit her. My dad's wife lost her mother a little under a year ago. They were extremely close and her passing was unexpected, so she's not coping well. My husband and I are trying to be as helpful and accommodating as possible, but we don't live in the same country as them anymore, so there isn't much we can do. Back in February, my dad and his wife came to visit us for 10 days to celebrate our son's birthday. This was our first time seeing them after her mother's passing, and their first time seeing me pregnant. Early during the trip, we had dinner together. We all started talking about my pregnancy and the baby, and when my dad asked if we had any names in mind, his wife stopped us. She asked us if we could consider naming our daughter after her mother. She said she had been wanting to ask us this since she learned we were having a girl, and it would mean a lot to her if we could honor her mother like that. I don't think I have to justify why I wouldn't do that, but in case I do, I never liked her mother or thought of either of them as family. Even if I did, my husband doesn't like the idea of using our children's names as tributes, so we wouldn't name them after any of our deceased loved ones. My husband and I were taken aback. My dad looked a little awkward, so I think he was already expecting her to bring that up. I said I was sorry, but we had already chosen the name and weren't interested in changing it. The mood died a bit, but we did manage to change the subject and enjoy the rest of the evening. My dad's wife was quieter than usual for the next few days, but she didn't bring that up again until the final night of their trip. Everyone was at our place. She pulled me aside and, once again, expressed how perfect it would be for us to keep her mother's memory alive by naming a child after her. She started talking about how much she would have loved it, and how a beautiful name such as hers shouldn't go to waste. I interrupted her and said there is zero chance we would ever consider naming our child after her mother. I told her it would never be up for discussion, and for her own sake, she needs to accept that and stop bringing it up. I was admittedly harsher than I'd intended, but I'm not sure she would have gotten the message otherwise. She barely spoke to me and my husband until she and my dad flew home the next day. My dad and I have been talking about this. He agrees with our refusal. He didn't really like his mother-in-law either, though he never admitted it, but thinks I shouldn't have turned his wife down like that. He told me she's still dealing with her mother's passing, and I should have been more sympathetic. He's insistent she wouldn't mind our daughter's name if we at least told her we'd consider honoring her mother. I don't think humoring her would have been the best call, but I am worried I was too harsh. Aita. Relevant comments. NTA she didn't take no when y'all politely said it so harshly was the only way to get your point across. It's always weird when someone asks you to name a child after someone. It wouldn't even mean the same if you didn't do it because you wanted to. When my son was born, my dad joked that his name was available, but didn't say anything besides that and didn't complain about the name we actually chose. He later told me it was a joke and he always thought that was a bad idea. More on my dad's wife. She is spoiled, and my dad does have the tendency of doing things her way, but she's usually reasonable. That behavior always extended to wanting to go to specific places or doing specific things at specific times, that either no one else wanted to do or we wanted to wait a while before doing so. I think this is genuinely motivated by grief. Spoiled or not, I can't imagine her getting to this extreme otherwise. Plus, she knew I wasn't close with her mother, but not that I didn't like her. I'm not sure she knows I don't consider her family, but we see each other once a year at most these days, so she has to at least know we're not close now. My father tries to visit once or twice a year, but she doesn't always tag along. Doesn't your father's wife have children of her own? Those ones who could keep their grandmother's memory alive? She does not and will not, tubes tied, from what I gather. I think she never wanted kids, but her mother always wanted grandkids. How old is she? She's 44, I'm 29, for the record. An adult who is middle-aged not getting over the death of a parent like this needs help from a pro. Again, they were extremely close. They'd take trips, go to concerts and spend hours on the phone together, even after I moved out. I heard her refer to her mother as her best friend once. Back when I lived with them, she would call her mother multiple times a day, almost always just to narrate what she was doing. We're going to the restaurant, we got to the restaurant, we're ordering, we're eating, we're going home. What is her mother's name? Her mother's name is not uncommon in my home country, but it is one of those names that not many kids are given nowadays, think Florence or Eleanor. There aren't many children in my paternal family, and it's extremely unlikely any of my relatives would use it. NTA, but my son is named after my cousin who passed away and was my best friend, so I think your husband's whole no tributes thing makes him an asshole, but that's a separate argument for a different day. My husband's father has passed away as well, and his relationship with using names as tributes is different. I had briefly considered my late friend's name as one of our son's backups, but gave up when I realized none of us would really feel comfortable with it. I don't think naming your children after people you've lost is inherently bad, but I do think that decision needs to be made carefully. It is possible she is not just grieving her mom, but also her own choice to not have children. Seeing you pregnant might have set her off. I doubt it. She didn't react like this when I had my son, and she's been vehemently child-free for years. Update. Hey guys, I came here for advice a few months ago. I gave birth to a healthy baby girl back in May. She's now a month old and thriving. We're all in love with her. My husband and I decided to go with our first choice for her name. Truth be told, the backups didn't stand a chance, and it suits her perfectly. My dad stopped bringing up the subject of how I'd talked to his wife a few weeks after my first post. The last thing he said about this essentially boiled down to, be nice to my wife, but for the love of God don't name my granddaughter after my mother-in-law. He wanted to visit us this month to meet the baby, but I told him to wait a while longer. The house is a mess and we're still getting used to having 2 kids. His wife has been very detached from anything that concerns my daughter. She spent the weeks leading up to my baby's birth radio silent. She usually lives on her phone and texts frequently, so I figured she was still upset. Both my and my husband's families like our daughter's name. My dad in particular complimented it a lot. His wife did not react to it. My aunt visited them recently, and she later told me that while my dad would show her pictures and videos of my daughter, his wife avoided the topic entirely, and was cold whenever someone tried to get her to engage. To be clear, none of that ever bothered me. But this behavior was very out of character for her. When I was pregnant with my son, she created a group chat with my whole paternal family, and her mother, to start a countdown for his birth. She was my only acquaintance who protested when I said I didn't want pictures of my child posted online. About a week ago, my dad's wife called me. She reiterated that she felt I wasn't being very understanding of what she's going through, but apologized for how cold she's been lately. During the call, she explained that losing her mother had made her regret her decision not to have kids. Her mother had always wanted to be a grandmother, and she wishes she could have given her the opportunity to experience that. She took her mother's passing very hard, and it made her reflect about various things she wishes she'd done differently, but the news of my second pregnancy intensified that regret in particular. My dad's wife said that she'll always wish I'd named my daughter after her mother, but still accepts the name I chose. She also told me she'll start seeing a therapist soon. I was mostly quiet during the call, because frankly, I didn't know how to react. Having since had time to think about what she said, I'm a little freaked out. It's still hard to explain how I feel, and this isn't even close to my top concern right now, but I didn't see this coming. I almost feel bad admitting this, but I'm very glad we're in different hemispheres. I can't imagine what she's going through, and I wish her nothing but the best, but I don't think being close to my family right now would be good for either of us. Thinking back to how I handled things when she first asked us to use her mother's name, I'm pretty sure I made the right call. I sincerely wish I'd been more polite, but humoring her would have probably led to a much bigger headache. I'm not sure when we'll see her again, but it won't be until next year. My dad will come visit us in October, but she won't come with him. When she does meet my daughter, I hope she's doing better. Right now, I'll focus on my children. Postpartum sucks, and my husband and I are still getting adjusted to being a family of 4, but we love both our kids so much. I don't know how I got so lucky. I almost definitely won't post again. I am very tired and very busy, and I don't expect that to change anytime soon. Thank you. Edit. To those asking, I'm freaked out because I wasn't expecting her reasoning to be that she regretted not giving her mother grandchildren, as I stated in this post. I sympathize with her grief and I'm glad she's decided to get help. Relevant comments on how OOP feels about this. I'm very glad she's decided to start therapy. I feel like acknowledging that you need help is a necessary step, but actually going through with it is harder than it looks. I have a different experience with grief than she does. There was one specific time in my life in which I lost many of my loved ones very quickly. I've discussed that in therapy, but I regret not working through it sooner. It is good that she has put space between herself and your family, as well as going to get therapy. I'd be concerned she would see your daughter as a reincarnation of her mother, or a way to honor her mother by making a bond with your daughter leading to being OTT or leaving your son out. Not using the name was definitely the right call. Using the name was never an option. I really did not like her mother, and neither did my husband. Plus, we didn't really like the name either. My concern on my original post was whether I'd been too harsh. Grief makes people go a little sideways and do things they would never do. This isn't about you, or your baby. This is about the death of her mother, and her grief surrounding that. A little compassion here might help the situation. It sounds like she is trying to sort herself out. I understand she's grieving, and I believe I am being compassionate. However, she explicitly made it about my child, which I do have an issue with. Does your dad know all of this? She messed with and added stress for his pregnant daughter because she regretted not giving her mom a grandchild. Her mom even gone will always come first in her life. Notice in that apology she is sorry for being cold lately, not for demanding you name your child after her mother. I actually don't know how much my dad is aware of. I try to avoid getting too involved in other people's relationships, so I haven't spoken to him about this. She accepts the name you chose. WTC. Did she ever have any choice in that matter? Congrats on your new baby and on your new family dynamics. Good luck with the dumpster fire. Try to make sure you have plenty of fire extinguishers on hand whenever she does visit. And monitor her around both of your children. She sounds kinda unhinged. I honestly don't think she's dangerous. I think she's going through a lot and needs more help than she's getting. I'm confident therapy will be very good for her. Money down. She refers to the child with her mother's name back in her area. I wouldn't let that happen. Top comment. You were right to stick to your guns about your daughter's name. Humoring her would have likely created more problems. Stories number 14. Aita for telling my mom to stop feeding the same people who purposely exclude us from dinner. Let me start by saying, I know I wasn't wrong, but I might have been a little too honest. So for context, my mom, 39F, little brother, 7M, and I, 17F, moved into our extended family's home a while ago. Ever since we got there, it's been like we're the invisible roommates. No one talks to us unless they need something, and we're never really included in anything, especially when it comes to food. Before my mom got a job, she was basically the unpaid house nanny caregiver chef. I'm talking, cooking daily for 6 kids, ages 1, 4, 7, 10, 11, and yes, another 7M, plus my grandmother who has dementia. She never complained. She just stepped up because no one else would. It was her way of contributing, since she wasn't paying bills. Well, fast forward, my mom got a job and now comes home exhausted. Since then, my cousin, the self-appointed new chef, took over cooking. Which would have been great, if she didn't act like we didn't exist. When they cook, they always seem to run out of food right before it gets to my mom, my brother, and me. Like clockwork. Every single time. But when my mom cooked, same size meals, same pot, but magically everyone was fed. Even second servings. Even leftovers. So yes, it feels intentional. And yes, we've noticed. But we never made it an issue because my mom would always just make sure we had something on the side or order food if needed. Now here's where the drama starts. Yesterday, my mom came home from work and decided to cook for us, just me, her, and my little brother. I was honestly excited. It's been a while since we had a meal that wasn't side scraps or air. But being the good woman she is, my mom still left extra food in the pot for the rest of the house. Face with rolling eyes. Now me, being petty and fed up, said, "Why are you still leaving food for people who wouldn't even leave crumbs for us when they cook?" Apparently my cousin heard me, not my problem tbh, and I guess she ran to the rest of the family and sprinkled in some fairy dust because now I'm getting passive-aggressive phone calls from my aunt talking about how my heart isn't clean, and God doesn't like bitterness, and how family means sacrifice. Ma'am, I've been eating cornflakes for dinner while y'all serve oxtail to everyone except us. Let's not do that. So now everyone's mad. But honestly, I don't feel bad. I said what I said. If the bare minimum is too much to ask for, maybe I shouldn't be so quiet anymore. But still Aita Edit. Since I'm seeing a lot of persons asking questions, I'll just go and explain more to clear up any more misunderstandings. My mother and I are not homeless. My brother was starting school that's closer and my family needed someone to look after my grandma and the kids until they get home, so my mom said she'd do it since she's available. Please note that my mother was taking care of my grandma before my family moved her after she started showing signs of dementia, so this is nothing new. They asked us to move in. And my mother agreed because transportation was expensive. The house that my family rented is my mother's relative, so they decreased the rent due to the request of my mother. I am living in the Caribbean. My mother started cooking and cleaning up because the house was dirty. I'm talking plates in the sink, kids not eating, etc. And she would cook so my grandma can get something daily, and she would cook enough so everyone can get something to eat, especially the kids. Mind you, they don't contribute to buying food or anything. My mother is paying for it all and didn't complain. For why was I allowing my mother to cook when I'm 17? Since my mother started working she has been contributing to bills, etc. And that day she wanted to cook since it's been a while since she has. I have a business so I don't mind buying food for us. Stories number 15. Aita for asking my partner's sister to leave after she disrespected us in our own home. My partner, 28F, and I, 25F, have been together for a while and worked hard to build a calm, independent life for ourselves. We both came from rocky family backgrounds, but have created a soft, stable life, filled with communication, compassion, and just peace. Recently, her younger sister, 19F, came to us for help. She has a lot of unresolved mental health issues that she refuses to address. She's not working, doesn't have a high school diploma, and is currently on social assistance. She had been living with their emotionally abusive father but got them kicked out of their last apartment after mouthing off to the landlord. She had reason to be upset, but the way she handled it escalated things unnecessarily. She reached out to us because she needed help finding housing in the city and wasn't sure if social assistance would cover rent. We agreed to help. We found her a place, paid her first month's rent and damage deposit, bought her some groceries and essentials, and even gave her a bunch of stuff from around our house to help her get started. We also agreed to cover any financial gaps that she had until she found a job, paying for her groceries or her bills that she couldn't afford. Before moving into her new place, we let her stay with us for a few days. The only condition was that while we were away on vacation, 5 days, she would take care of our 3 cats and keep the place reasonably tidy. We sent her clear messages about what was expected, including reminders during our trip. When we got home, the house was disgusting. The cat litter hadn't been touched, the kitchen was a mess, and the house smelled. I had to clean the kitchen before I could make supper for the 3 of us. My partner dealt with the cat litter. Later, my partner gently brought it up with her. She reminded her that we were doing her a favor, and that not taking care of the house was disrespectful. Her sister completely lost it, screaming at us, calling us bitches, saying we were OCD, we're not, our house is just normally clean but lived in, and telling us we were on some kind of high horse and didn't care about her. She then started crying and yelling more. We told her that if she was going to continue behaving that way, she needed to leave. She stormed outside and sat on the front steps, calling everyone she knew and telling them we kicked her out. For me, it's not about the state of the house, although it was gross. It's about the repeated disrespect. Every time she's around, she's yelling, angry, or emotionally explosive toward my partner. I've reached my limit. So, Aita for telling her to leave and not tolerating this behavior in our home anymore. Stories number 16. AIO my coworker harasses me about my masculinity and DM'd my wife. I'm currently dealing with a work situation that I, 28M, need advice on. Before work I go to the gym about every other day. I'm hardly shredded but I've gone enough that you can see my muscles when I come into work in short sleeves. I wouldn't describe myself as a gym bro or a gym rat, I really just go for my overall health. Anyways, I work in an office with maybe 25 to 30 people that work there. We mainly do business-to-business sales and supply, not really relevant to the story. Anyway, I get to work one day wearing a polo and a couple of girls and guys in the office were asking me if I had been working out recently and I told them that I had. It wasn't flirtatious or anything like that, I think they were just giving me a friendly compliment, plus I'm married, but as we're discussing me working out, my coworker Gary, 40SM, walks in. Gary is, a lot. He's one of those guys who constantly talks about how much he benches, his gains, and generally just tries to project this super intense, alpha male image. Which is annoying but none of my business really. This is where the problem starts. Someone asked me what my max bench was. I told them honestly, and Gary, who was lurking nearby, scoffed loudly. He then proceeded to tell me, in front of like 5 other coworkers, that my number, 170, was pathetic and that I clearly wasn't a real man or an alpha. He then went on a tirade about how men need to be strong and dominate, etc., etc. It was super uncomfortable. I tried to just laugh it off and change the subject, but it didn't work. Since then, it's gotten worse. Every single day, Gary makes some kind of comment. If I'm getting coffee, he'll ask if I'm strong enough to lift the pot. If I'm walking to my desk, he'll flex and ask if I'm inspired yet to hit the weights like a real man. I've tried ignoring him, giving him short answers, even politely telling him to knock it off. Nothing works. He just laughs and says I need to grow a thicker skin. Then, this is where I start to lose my shit a little. My wife, 27F, texted me a screenshot yesterday. It was a DM from Gary. It was a picture of him flexing in the mirror with some ridiculous caption about being a true alpha and how real women know what's up. Summarizing, but you get the sentiment. He'd somehow found her on social media and sent her this unsolicited picture and message. I was beyond furious. I wanted to march over to his desk and punch him, but I knew that would only make things worse. I'm starting to dread coming to work. It's constant, it's demeaning, it's making me feel genuinely small and uncomfortable, and now he's involving my wife. Am I overreacting to this? Is this just typical guy banter that I'm not getting? Should I just suck it up and ignore him, or is this actually something worth addressing with HR? I feel like if I tell HR it might just add fuel to the fire. But if I come down to his level and respond violently, I'll lose my job. Update, I'm going to take this to HR tomorrow. Thank you guys for letting me know the severity of this. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, HR should have been involved a long time ago. Be advised he will pursue the wife angle more aggressively than ever. Reply, that's my concern is that it'll just make him want to escalate things further. Commenter 2, that's a reasonable fear, but once you report it to HR, explain everything to them as you did here, you can continue to report any retaliation or additional incidents. He is harassing you and creating hostile work environment. HR's job is to protect the company from being sued by you by intervening in your coworker's behavior. Just keep documenting everything because if HR doesn't effectively do its job, you will have a case for a lawsuit. Obviously the hope is that it won't come to that. Good luck. Reply, I think you're right. I think I've just let his whole thing about calling me weak get to my head. I'm just not into violence and I feel like that's what he's trying to provoke. Downvoted commenter, this guy is a deeply wounded narcissistic weirdo. Take this with a huge pinch of salt too, but he can't stand you because of pure envy. Strategically I'd subtly suggest to downplay your style, gym game, and become subconsciously less threatening, and be as boring as possible. Relish in the fact that he's wounded by you, but it's clear you've got a target on your back. I don't think HR is a good idea. Quietly submit but not because of fear, feign admiration, stroke his ego, ask him for advice but not in a begging way, play the beta male archetype, you're clearly not, I reckon you project a quiet confidence that is bothersome to him. Don't however cower, or beg him to stop, or even give him short answers. It's just fuel to the fire as he'll get a rise of successfully getting under your skin because he's so disempowered and weak under the bravado. Reply, I feel like maybe he had a crush on one of my female coworkers that was complimenting me and now is trying to embarrass me to impress them or something. That might not be a bad idea but I think some people have convinced me to go to HR now. Commenter 3, what does Gary bench? Reply, he claims 235. Update, just wanted to update everybody after my last post. I ended up going to HR. I honestly didn't think HR would do much because Gary is a good employee in terms of performance but surprisingly they took my complaint very seriously and were in disbelief when I showed them the screenshot of the DM he sent to my wife. The next day, Gary was not at the office so I wasn't sure if they had fired him or if he was just on a suspension at first but our boss told us to let his clients know that he was out for the day if they call the office. So I assumed that meant he got suspended. He was back this morning. Usually he greets me with some kind of smart remark but today he was really quiet and seemed to be avoiding eye contact with me. When I went to grab some coffee out of the break room a little after that he came in there and asked if we could talk for a second. He proceeded to tell me that HR laid into him big time and they told him that if he pulled anything like that again, it would result in termination. He then proceeded to apologize to me for everything and said that as pathetic as it sounds he was just upset that nobody ever compliments him on going to the gym despite how much time he spends in the gym in his free time. He said it hurt that people acknowledged me when going to the gym wasn't as big of a deal for me as it was for him. He then asked for my forgiveness. I honestly felt kind of bad for him in that moment, it was really kind of pathetic but he did seem sorry so I told him I accepted his apology but if he ever messages my wife on anything again, he'll have a lot more to worry about than an HR complaint. He again apologized. I don't know if this situation is fully resolved given it's only been a half day, but Gary has been quiet and not at all like himself. We'll see if this lasts, but his apology felt genuine, so hopefully this is the last update I'll have to give on this situation. Thank you to everybody that encouraged me to go to HR. There was a lot of people that pointed out that Gary must be dealing with a lot of insecurities, and I think they were right. There's a few things I want to address that were questions in my last post. How did Gary have my wife's info? He found her Instagram. A lot of people thought he somehow got her number, which wasn't the case. Is this a made-up story? No, if you look at my comment history you will see a screenshot of the Instagram DMs commented on my last post. It's so cartoonish that it sounds like fiction, but believe me, this is what people who buy into the red pill bullshit are like. You'll probably encounter your own Gary at some point if you haven't already. Do I really only bench 170? When I said I benched 170, I meant that bench 4 sets of 12 at 170. I've never done a single rep max. Does Gary have a wife? No, from my understanding, Gary is divorced and has been single for a while. Revelant comments. What was OOP's wife's reaction to the DM in aftermath? Reply, she didn't respond to the DM, just sent the screenshot to me. She thinks Gary is a weirdo and doesn't think he'll be getting any woman anytime soon, let alone somebody else's wife. Will OOP still be friends with Gary? Reply, I don't think I can ever be friends after he hit up my wife, but I can definitely be civil at work. I think people like them might really be dealing with loneliness and are scared people might reject them, so they put up a wall. Commenter 1, he might have been remorseful, but he absolutely deserves what he got. He crossed a line when he DM'd your wife unsolicited. Stories number 17. My family hates when I go to the toilet. I know it sounds weird, but please hear me out. I'm 19M, living in a small house with my family. This might sound funny or stupid, but I'm serious, my family really doesn't like when I go to the toilet. You can leave if you want. In the morning, everyone's asleep. Nobody is using it. I wait. But when I finally reach my limit and go, that's when all the drama starts. My father doesn't say much, maybe because I'm older now, but my brother starts complaining loudly, and then my mother jumps in like it's a whole courtroom scene. Same thing happens in the evening. Between 4 to 6 p.m., I usually feel pressure again, that's just how my body works. But of course, the moment I go in, suddenly my little brother gets pressure, too. He was on the phone the whole day, but now he's shouting outside the door like it's an emergency. That's all my mom needs to hear. She gets angry, scolds me, says hurtful stuff like, he's always either hiding in a corner or in the toilet. Just because I don't have friends or go out much, they act like I'm doing something wrong by simply existing. And the worst part? Even if my brother isn't there, my father shows up from work at the exact same time. If he sees the bathroom door closed, he gets angry. It's like I can't win. Yes, I'll admit, back when I was depressed, I sometimes overstayed in the bathroom just to be alone. Nobody in my family knew I was depressed, of course. But they will remember every little movement I make that they can criticize. I'm tired. I can't even go to the toilet in peace without feeling like I'm being judged or attacked. Stories number 18. My 39F, boyfriends, 49M, best friend, 45F, just made him a blanket after I told her I was making him one. I, 39F, met my boyfriend, Tim, 49M, about 4 months ago. Everything has been wonderful between us. He's funny, kind, supportive, easy to talk to, a great communicator, and much, much more. He has a wonderful social group and many, many friends who I have met as we have been dating. One of those friends is a female friend he has had for 4 to 5 years who we will call Debbie, 45F. Tim let me know early on that there is potentially a bit of unrequited love from Debbie toward him, but also said that she is socially awkward and does not have a lot of friends. They are pretty close, she is definitely one of his closest friends that live near us. She watches his dog whenever he needs a dog sitter. She texts him daily, usually memes about his favorite football team or just general questions about how he is doing, never anything inappropriate or that crosses any sort of boundaries for me. They are also the sort of friends that show up to help each other when the other one needs something, e.g., picking each other up from the airport, helping with 2-person house projects. He would now call me for these types of things, but she still calls him for these things, which is completely okay with me. I do not feel jealous of her or feel any sort of concerns about his interactions with her at all. The first time I met her was over lunch. She joined Tim and me at a bar near our house. She had just received good news about her job and spent most of the time speaking to Tim about that update, so we didn't get to talk much. Tim kept bringing me into the conversation, but I didn't get to speak to her or get to know her much. The second time I met her, she came over to Tim's house for a small gathering consisting of 2 other people, Tim and myself. When she got there she started to come in and then said she had a bad day and said she didn't want to be with people. To me, it seemed like when she saw me she suddenly became uncomfortable about coming in, which I felt bad about, since I wanted her to feel comfortable around me, given that she is an important part of Tim's life. Tim spent a few seconds encouraging her to come in, and then I came out and also asked her to come in and have a drink with us, and she did. We were all hanging out in the living room, but she stayed in the dining room, which is attached but was not really with the rest of us. I intentionally sat with the two other people who were there instead of sitting with Tim, just in case she was feeling uncomfortable. She still refused to really join us. Tim kept asking her to come in and sit with us. After about 10 to 15 minutes she did come into the room with the rest of us, but she sat on the floor instead of on the couches with where rest of us were sitting. I brought her a drink while she was sitting on the floor and sort of squatted down next to her when I gave it to her and said something like, "I'm sorry you had a bad day, but even though we don't know each other yet, I am here if you ever need or want to talk." She used two fingers to kind of poke me in my shoulder and responded very sharply with something along the lines of, "I don't know you like that, so no, I'm not going to talk to you." I said okay and got up and sat right next to Tim anyway since she was being rude and had physically touched me. I decided that my efforts were kind of wasted there. She left a few minutes later. After the situation, Tim offered to essentially remove her from his life if it would make me more comfortable. It is, a new relationship, and I decided that everyone should get one free hall pass, and can make one mistake and have one bad day. I told him she seemed like she needed friends and that I didn't want him to cut her out of his life, but did say I was uncomfortable with the interaction, obviously. Tim spoke to her about what happened, and the next time I saw her she apologized to me for the situation and explained that she was having a really bad day due to some things going on in her personal life. Since then I have seen her 2 other times and she was friendly and nice, albeit somewhat socially awkward. The last time I saw her was about a month ago and we started talking about her hobbies. She mentioned that she wanted to learn how to crochet. I told her that I have been crocheting since I was a kid and offered to help her if she ever wanted. She asked me if I was making anything at the time, and I let her know that I was making a blanket for Tim because he had told me that no one had ever made him something like that before. I let her know I was really excited about it because I wanted to see his reaction when he got that kind of gift. This brings us to the reason for my post. Today, Debbie knocked on Tim's door unexpectedly. I answered the door. For the record, she had texted him 15 minutes before arriving, letting him know that she was going to come over and bring a surprise, but he didn't see the text before she got there. When I opened the door she told me she had a surprise for Tim. The surprise was a crocheted blanket she had made him. The weirdest part was that it was baby blanket sized, so it was completely useless for him. Nonetheless, I was completely shocked because she knew that I was actively making a blanket for him and why I was excited to give it to him. It feels like she rushed out to make a blanket for him just in order to beat me to the gift that I was going to give him. At one point, he said to her, "I didn't know that this was in your skill repertoire. How long have you been crocheting?" She responded by saying that she just started and it was the second thing that she had ever made, but the first thing was really bad. After hanging out with us for half an hour or so and continuing to talk about her crocheting, she said that when she was making it and had to figure it out who she was going to give it to, because once you start crocheting, you have too much crocheted stuff in your house and have to figure out who to start gifting things to, which is exactly what I told her when we were speaking about our hobbies and obviously doesn't make sense if it's only the second thing she's ever made. Now it feels like if I give him my blanket, it will look like I made it in response to her making him a blanket, even though I started it first. I'm not sure how to address the situation without seeming petty or like I'm making drama out of a gift she gave him. Any advice on how to navigate this would be very much appreciated. TLDR, my boyfriend has a female best friend who has unrequited feeling for him. I told her I was making him a crocheted blanket. She suddenly made him one first, even though she just started crocheting. Now I feel weird giving him mine. Edit, I spoke to my boyfriend about it briefly before he left for his trip. I posted a comment with that updated information. Stories number 19. Aita for not giving legal advice at a party to someone I just met. Hi everyone. This actually happened last night. I was at my brother's place for an NFL draft party. I haven't seen my brother in a couple weeks, and my brother and I live a couple hours from each other because I moved away, so I haven't seen a lot of his friends in years. I also have not met most of my brother's girlfriend's family and friends because she comes from a town a couple hours from where they currently live in the opposite direction from where I live. My brother and his GF have been together 2 years and are getting engaged next month. At the party I was talking with a group of people and one guy, the husband of one of my brother's girlfriend's friends, asked me what I do for a living, and I said I'm an attorney. He then asked me what kind of law I practice, and I could already see where this was going. He then started into so I'm having a problem with one of my neighbors. As he was launching into his story I reached in my pocket and gave him my card and told him to call me in the morning to discuss the issue. He got upset and said why can't I just answer a couple of quick questions for him since we were both there. I said I was there to see my brother and watch the draft and didn't want to discuss business right now. As other attorneys will tell you at social gatherings, this is a common thing. Once people find out you're an attorney, they'll try to corner you with a bunch of questions and you're basically back on the clock. Years ago, I decided to do the business card thing instead of answering questions so I could actually enjoy social gatherings. Besides, these things almost never turn into actual business, people just want free legal advice. I've never had any complaints about it before. The guy got upset, said something under his breath, and stormed off. The other people standing there all made a face as he stormed off and we went right back into our conversation. That was it, or so I thought. The rest of the night was fine, and it was never brought up again. We enjoyed the draft, and I enjoyed seeing my brother's knucklehead friends these years later. I got a text from my brother this morning, and he said I want to make this clear, I completely understand why you did what you did. He has seen it happen a bunch of times at events and heard me complain about it afterwards. However, his girlfriend is upset that I blew her friend's husband off, and wants me to reach out to him, apologize and answer his questions. My brother said he's on my side and said he told her such, but she made him send the text to me anyway. I believe my brother being on my side and understand he's trying to keep the peace in his relationship. I said I'm not texting and apologizing or calling the guy, but he has my card and is welcome to call me. I feel I did nothing wrong, just because of my job doesn't mean I'm on the clock 24/7. My brother said yeah, I knew you'd say that, but now I can at least tell my girlfriend I tried and that was it with him. Again, I thought this was the end, but it's not. His girlfriend texted my mom and told her what happened. Now my mom is texting me and saying I know it's annoying what this guy did, but can you call this guy so that your relationship with brother's girlfriend isn't negatively affected because she's obviously upset with you. My brother is getting engaged to her next month and she's going to be family and there's no need to have a rift when she's about to be family. I said it's too late. The fact that she cried to my mom already created a rift on my end about her now. Again, I declined, and my mom said she understands, but just doesn't want negative feelings with brother's girlfriend over this. I said no, he can call me and I'll answer any questions he has. So, Reddit, Aita for how I handled this. Relevant comments. NTA. I'm an attorney and constantly experience the exact same thing. By the way, don't know if you've tried it, but I've found my malpractice insurance doesn't allow me to talk to you about this unless you come in for a consult, which I have to charge for, to be helpful. Thanks for the tip, I may try this one in the future. I think the girlfriend knew about this guy's problem and she advised him to ask OP, and when OP refused, she got upset. Didn't think of this definite possibility. If I were your brother, this would be a wake-up call for me. She isn't above looping in whomever she wants, their business or not, to get her way. I can't even imagine what any marital arguments will get spread around until he feels publicly shamed into submission. Also, what happens when if they have children and disagree on something? She's going to send a group of flying monkeys after him. I would also tell your mom, today it's me, tomorrow it could be you. What happens when you don't do something she wants when it comes to the wedding? You're asking me to cave to keep the peace, and it will let her know that if she throws a big enough tantrum, we'll buckle. I love my brother to death, but I doubt they have many serious arguments. He's a complete pushover, he probably gives in to her pretty quickly if she raises enough of a stink. Our profession isn't exactly full of nice people. Editor's note, this commenter is also a lawyer. It's unfortunate but you are right. I tend to be pretty accommodating of other counsel unless they are unaccommodating with me. Need an extension on a filing deadline? Sure, how long do you need? Want to adjourn a hearing date? Sure, let's pick one that works better for both of us. We represent our clients to the best of our abilities, but that doesn't mean we can't have decorum. More on how OOP feels about this. TBH, I could care less if this guy who lives 4 to 5 hours away that I may never see again except once at their wedding and then never again is mad. I only care about my brother's GF and only to the extent that she's probably giving my brother an earful over it, and that sucks for him, and her being a future part of the family having a rift over something so stupid is unfortunate. I have some small updates on this post I made a couple of months ago. My brother got engaged to the GF referenced in the post a couple of weeks ago. They had a get-together to celebrate their engagement this past weekend. They only invited immediate family and those they expect to be in their wedding party. My brother had asked me about being his best man last week before the party, but at the dinner they formally gave gifts to everyone in their wedding party along with officially asking everyone to be in the wedding party. Said brother's fiance's friend's husband was there as well. He is not going to be in the wedding party, but his wife apparently will be. I was there before he was, and when he came in he made no attempt to come over and say hello to me or the group I was talking with. Fine, I hardly know the guy, so I don't care if he talks to me. At dinner there were no assigned seats, but my girlfriend and I happened to be seated not super close to him and his wife, but close enough to where we could hear each other's conversations if we weren't involved in our own conversations. At dinner I was sitting with my girlfriend next to me on the same side they were seated, on my other side was my sister and her husband and across from me was some other friends of my brother's fiancé I had never met before this night. My girlfriend was not at the previous event, but I of course had told her about the issue. Anyway, my girlfriend and I are making small talk with the friends of my brother's fiancé across from us and of course what we all do for a living came up. I said I was an attorney and the guy at that point decided to interject into our conversation and say but don't ask him any questions right now, he'll just give you his card and tell you to call him during business hours. To my delight and his horror, one of the friends we were talking to responded and said, yeah of course, I'd hardly expect him to give me legal advice at his brother's engagement party. He made an angry face, mumbled something to his wife, who told him to drop it, and then I don't think he said a word again the rest of the night. Nothing big, just thought some might find this update amusing. Relevant comments. As a fellow attorney, I applaud you. That guy is so self-absorbed and entitled. I fucking hate people who expect free off-the-cuff advice and have no understanding of the fact that actually lawyers need to do legal research in order to give good advice, not to mention that we need to do conflict checks. How did your future SL treat you? I hope she got over her snit. Not cool that she called your mom to tattle on you. It sounds like your bro is marrying a jerk. Thank you. It is great to hear a fellow attorney thinks I handled this well. She got over it, pretty quickly. Didn't apologize but didn't change the way she acted with me either. Her and I aren't close, and I don't think we ever will be, but we've remained cordial. NTA at all, you obviously handled that well. I do have a question regarding the social expectations of asking questions, because I'd still love to pick your brain regarding law school. Which year was the hardest for you? Is tort really hard to understand? Shit like that. Would you be cool with being asked stuff like that? Or would you still prefer not to be bothered with that kind of question? If you as a random Redditor want to ask me questions here or in a DM, I'd answer them at my convenience. I have no issues with that. As far as in public goes, it depends on the social situation. If I'm being introduced to someone in a planned situation because they are considering law school or in law school and have questions about law school, I'll of course answer. If I'm with a group of my attorney friends, it also helps my willingness to answer said questions because we'll likely start sharing law school horror stories. If I'm at an event, it depends on the situation. If I've been drinking, I am not going to want to talk about it. If I'm at an event where I have something else I want to do, be it watch the NFL draft like the first situation, a wedding, etc., I'm also going to probably shut you down and say let's talk later. However, questions about law school I'd be more receptive to in casual conversations than asking me legal advice because they don't require as much thought on my end. I'm more likely to answer those than questions about someone's legal problems as long as I'm not busy at the time with something else. Oh gosh, I feel so bad now. I get super awkward talking to my husband's cousin, who's a lawyer, and just ask him lawyer stuff every time I see him, just as something to talk about. I'll make a better effort at finding a different common ground with him. A plus side to your event is opening my eyes to do better. Thank you. I'm sorry if I made you feel awkward. Everyone is obviously different, but I don't mind if someone asks me how work is going, if I have any interesting cases, etc. compared to being asked for advice. Advice makes me start having to go into the Rolodex of what I know and advise as to what someone should do. Asking me how work is going or if I have interesting cases, I think is a normal conversation thing to ask anyone about their job, but asking them to do their job on the spot to me is where a line is drawn. Stories number 20. I got both my bosses fired because they were thieves. This isn't quite revenge, more like petty justice. Also sorry for the wall of text, but it's a good read. I was a manager at a small chain grocer several years ago. It was a shitty job in the bad part of town and I was working 50+ hours a week on salary, so no overtime, and I was attending college. I was tired AF. Our store had 3 managers: store manager, Dylan, assistant store manager, Jim, and third-level manager, me. Dylan was an okay guy, sometimes a jerk but usually easy to get along with, and a thief, could not prove it. He also scheduled me to work nights like 6 days a week and he wouldn't budge on that. So I had to deal with the shitty lunatic customers that only come out at night. All the time it was extremely frustrating, and it wore down greatly on my sanity. Jim was a complete moron with a room temperature IQ, did half-ass work, thought he was hot shit because he drove a motorcycle sometimes, and was a thief, could not prove it. When I would come into work in the evening after class, employees would always vent to me about how Jim was bossing them around while he sat on his fat ass all day. There was not a lot I could do except offer a listening ear and laugh and cut up with them while we finished our shifts. I was usually the only manager working in the evenings, but Jim and I had scheduled one night to work together on a project that needed both of us to be there. Probably rearranging shelves or new product placement or something. We were getting ready to leave and I was going to take my cash drawer to the back to count it. Jim asked me to wait a minute because he needed to buy some packaged butchered meat for dinner. No problem. He came back with a 5-pound package of beef with a ridiculously low price, like $3 or something, and it had a sticker with a correct, but different item description we didn't use. I ran the cash registers a lot and was very familiar with our products. I didn't say a word and rang him up. When he walked away, I reprinted a copy of his receipt and stuck it in my pocket, and we closed up for the night. I was scheduled to open the store the next day on Saturday morning, so when I arrived, I walked to the butcher room to investigate. I found the plastic wrapper from that package of beef with the original price tag in the trash can, so I grabbed it. I also found that the pricing scale that prints the price stickers had that wrong label still selected, and he had manually keyed in a dramatically lower price per pound. I grabbed one of those stickers too. Then I walked to the DVR in the manager's office and wrote down the time stamps of the footage where Jim took the meat off the shelf, into the butcher room, and walked out to my register where he bought it. I stashed the evidence in my locker until Dylan came in around noon. I showed the evidence to him. He got in touch with our district manager, Rocky. Rocky called Jim the next day and asked him come to the store, and after a short behind closed doors meeting, Jim was fired with cause, so no unemployment benefits. Shortly after, I was promoted to assistant store manager. Justice was served and nobody missed that loser. A few months later, we got a piece of mail from St. Jude Children's Hospital. It was a fundraiser package to collect quarters for leukemia research. I thought it was a great idea, so I had the cashiers ask for 25-cent donations to put in the little cardboard stands they sent us. After the program ended, we had collected about $250 in donations. I kept the donations in the safe. The instructions in the fundraiser said Western Union was one way to send the donation in. That was down the road from us, so it was easiest. Dylan took the money to Western Union, and when he returned, I asked him for a receipt. He said he didn't get one. I was suspicious. A few weeks later, we got a letter in the mail from St. Jude. It was a thank you letter for our generous donation of $50. That fungy bastard stole money that could have saved a child's life. I was raging inside. Roughly a year later, Dylan and I were working on another project at night. I had finished cleaning the floors and noticed I had not seen him for a while. I was looking for him to ask if he was ready to leave, and I heard the door to the dairy cooler open. It has loud refrigeration fans inside, so I figured he's stocking the milk or something. The door was only slightly open, so when I opened the door and walked in to talk to him, I saw him hovering over a shopping cart filled with groceries that he was putting into shopping bags. He was startled and started talking to me about some random thing, like how nervous guilty people do, as he hurried out of the cooler. I acted like nothing happened and we closed up the store and went home. Dylan was scheduled to open the store the next day. When I arrived around noon, he went home shortly after. I went to the dairy cooler and the shopping cart is gone. I pulled the DVR footage and saw him arrive at work about an hour early and park his truck at the front door, unusual. Then he rolled his shopping cart out of the cooler and to his truck where he loaded all the groceries. He then locked the doors, drove off and came back when he normally would to open the store. Since all the items were in bags, you couldn't see them, so technically I couldn't prove he didn't buy them, unless I watched a shit ton of footage and followed him around the store on the DVR. Hours of work. There was a glimmer of hope though. One thing he stole was a jumbo pack of paper towels, so it would not fit in a bag. This particular brand of paper towel was also overpriced, so customers had not bought a single one, and there was only one pack missing from the display. I needed a little more evidence though. I got the barcode number from those paper towels and ran a report on the computer for any transactions the entire week that contained that number. It showed no results found. Perfect. I printed that and wrote down the DVR timestamps. By coincidence, our area manager, Rod, he worked under Rocky, happened to show up that same day. I showed Rod the evidence and you can guess what happened after that. Dylan didn't get his unemployment benefits either, lol. Rocky hired someone to replace Dylan instead of promoting me. But shortly before then I had finished my degree, so started a real career a few months later and got out of that shithole. Stories number 21. Aita for living with my ex-GF's mom after we broke up. EX cheated and her mom kicked her out and said I could stay. Hi 22. My EX 22F cheated on me, her mom kicked her out. Her mom 43F said I could live in the house forever if I wanted. Aita if I stay. Sorry about the length and grammar, here is some backstory. I met my EX, let's call her Lisa so it's less intense for me. Writing X is still a lot, you know. We met in high school, we started dating when we were 13. It was great, her mother liked me and I loved Lisa, she was funny, smart and was gorgeous. We spent a lot of time at her place, I was so happy back then. I don't have parents so I lived with my grandma, but she was more than enough. She was strong, funny in a crude way, lively and a straight up badass. I was 17 when she passed and I moved in with her and her mom. I was devastated, but they were very inviting. My relationship with Lisa grew. It was amazing. They helped me through it. Lisa was my rock. It was the three of us since until now. Every day was similar. After our HS graduation, her mom would drop Lisa off at university and then her mom, let's call her Jen, writing her mom over and over in this rant will be weird. Jen and I would go to work, we work on the same street and then we'd leave at 5 p.m. and go home. Lisa would be home by then ate dinner together. It was like that for the past 2 years. I know for some that sounds boring, but I enjoy stability. I was happy and we were saving up money for our own place, a good place. Jen never asked for rent, but she always took it because she knows how important it is to me that I contribute. Lisa and Jen were my family. I was going to marry Lisa and Jen was my best friend. I know it's weird that my best friend is my ex-GF's mom. I found out she was cheating on me last month. She accidentally sent me a text that was clearly meant for him. I was devastated and started crying. It was unbearable. Jen heard me. I showed her my phone and she just held me. Lisa came home and instead of apologizing or making an excuse, she said with venom, "I have a new and better man. Pack up." It repeats in my head most days. Jen snapped. There was screaming and swearing. Jen ended up telling Lisa she had 30 minutes to pack up. I just hid in the office and locked the door. I just couldn't handle it. I was paralyzed in that one spot. Lisa left about 2 hours later. Jen held me and said, "This is your home for as long as you want. If you want to move, I'll miss you, but you'll still be family. If you want, you can stay forever." Being told that really helped me feel safe and took away some of my nerves. Sometime when I wasn't around, Lisa and her dad came by to pick her stuff up. Lisa and Jen have had a couple major fights, but Jen made it so I happen to never be around for most of them. Lisa and her friends are giving me a hard time, sending hurtful text messages, and I just don't know how to deal with that. Lisa has been switching between calling me a loser for living with Jen and asking me for a second chance. I am never getting back together with her. I don't love her anymore. I have succeeded in avoiding any one-on-ones with Lisa, but I'm eventually going to have to talk to her. Lisa has been living with her dad. He has tried to mediate, but that was not accepted by me. Jen's stance is whether I live here or not. Her daughter is not invited to live at home. Her actions are disgusting and she needs severe and permanent consequences. She told me that she still loves Lisa but not the person she has become. I wasn't to continue to live here for the time being. I sleep in the old office, which is now my room, and our old room is now the study. It's the only home I've ever had and Jen is my best friend. A lot of people in my life think I'm responsible for Lisa being kicked out. That's what got me questioning myself. Did I take her home away? Aita if I continue to live with my ex's mom. Sorry for ranting in my grammar and I left out chunks because I'm still struggling or just missed it. Sorry it's so long. Update, Aita for living with my ex-girlfriend's mom after we broke up. EX cheated and her mom kicked her out and said I could stay. Hi, I am 22 made a post a while ago asking if I was an asshole for living with EXGF mom after she kicked my ex out. Most of the info is in my first post, but to recap my ex-GF22F, I called her Lisa in my last post. She cheated on me and then said some cruel stuff, and her mom, I called her Jen, kicked her out. Her mom Jen said I was welcome to live here for as long as I want. I took the breakup hard. We were 13 when we started dating and when I was 17 my grandma passed. I went to live with Lisa and Jen and this house has been my home. I loved Lisa with everything I had and Jen had become a mother figure for me. This was the first house I lived in and I have lived here longer than any other place, so I call this place home. Jen choosing to let me stay meant the world to me. After the breakup, Lisa and her former friends relentlessly attacked me and blamed me for Lisa being kicked out, and it became overwhelming. Being told that over and over convinced me that I was at fault, but writing everything down helped and I received some DMs that helped a lot. Now for the actual update. A lot happened. A few days after my post Lisa came by, we talked, just the two of us, for the first time since she was kicked out. She started off by apologizing but immediately tried shift blame on me and then her mom. Then asked if she could have a second chance. I said no, and then she asked if I was sleeping with her mom. I said no, that she is the only person I have ever been intimate with and that Jen was basically my mom. Then she said, "So you're still in love with me?" A smugness that drove me insane. I remember exactly what I told her. "I don't love you. The second I found out you cheated on me it disappeared, and that I would rather drink 3 liters of elephant piss every day for the rest of my life before I would get back together with her." She slapped me and then went to the backyard and had it out with Jen. She said some of the most vile things I've ever heard in my life, and I won't write it down and I definitely won't speak it to her mom. It was disturbing. Then Jen in a very calm voice said that she was no longer her daughter and told her she was trespassing and to get out. Lisa looked shocked and then stormed off. The second Lisa left, Jen had a meltdown. It lasted hours. I was pissed off at Lisa. She confided in me that she hates her daughter now and doesn't want a relationship with her anymore. She started going to therapy and told me around 2 weeks ago that she is disowning Lisa and it's what's best for her mental health. That her therapist said she can still love her daughter and not want anything to do with her. I've been supporting her the best I can, I like being helpful. Lisa made less and less attempts to contact me, she is living with her dad. 5 days ago I got a text from Lisa's best friend, let's call her Kate. She was one of a few of Lisa's friends who didn't harass me and actually picked me in the breakup. We've talked a few times since the breakup to console me. She asked if she could come by with some of Lisa's friends so they can apologize. I was apprehensive, but this woman is a straight shooter and I was curious. So they came by and Kate said thank you for letting them come over. Then the other 3 women each took turns apologizing to me, then they apologized to Jen for everything, then dropped a bomb. They didn't know she was cheating. Apparently Lisa has been telling people that she only cheated because I was sleeping with her mom and that's why she was kicked out. I asked why they thought I would ever do something like that and why are they apologizing now. They said it was easier to think I was a cheater than their best friend was a lying scent, their word not mine. They told me they had cut her out. I must have looked like I didn't believe them, so they all showed me their text messages to Lisa and their social media. It seemed really important to them that I believe them, and yeah, they definitely did. They were not gentle about it, to say the least. I accepted their apology mostly. They all left but Kate and Jen went to the backyard. I don't know what they talked about, but they were both smiling when they came back. I thanked Kate for setting them straight and being on my side throughout the breakup. She said she was just following her moral compass. I'm doing much better now and I don't plan on moving out until the time is right for Jen and me. Jen has become my best friend and we support each other. I have a routine I follow that really helps. Also, I started sleeping better. I mostly just wrote this because it helps me clear my mind. Stories number 22. Wibta, if I went to a funeral I'm not invited to. I don't really know where to start, but my dad died. He, my mom, and 3 out of 4 of my siblings stopped talking to me about 7 years ago because I decided to leave the Mormon church. That's literally all I did. I wasn't vocal about my disbelief. I didn't try to get them to see my way. I just had my name removed from the church records and they decided not to talk to me, besides to send me talks from their prophet about how I'm not going to be in heaven with them. I still love my family very deeply and would be lying if I said I didn't miss them every day, and would probably have just pretended I still believed and stayed in the church if I knew I would be disowned by them. I got a freaking text, this morning from my sister saying that my dad died last Saturday and was doing me a courtesy by telling me, in person, so I wouldn't find out through Facebook. I asked when the funeral was and got a call from my uncle that went like this: you aren't invited to the funeral, don't show up and embarrass your family and cause your mother any more grief. That's not fair, he was. End of call. And now I'm being texts from my other siblings saying that I can always see dad again one day, if I come back to church, and I just don't know what to do. I'm just kind of heartbroken. I know I wasn't his favorite person when he had died, but goodness sakes I'm still his daughter. He was my dad, he taught me to ride a bike, and to cook, and how to shoot a gun. He was there through my first breakup and when I graduated and when I moved into my first apartment. I still love him. I had hopes of reconciliation and had dreamed of him walking me down the aisle one day. But now I can't even say goodbye to them because I decided I don't believe in their God. The funeral is Friday and I really want to be there. I'm grieving too, Wibta, if I went. Edit. First, I want to thank you all for the advice and kind words. It really did help. I called my brother before his flight yesterday and he encouraged me to go to my grandparents' house and talk to them. There's a lot of stuff surrounding my dad's death that I didn't know about, and it plays a big role in why my mom and family hate me even more now and don't want me at the funeral. My dad had been diagnosed with thyroid cancer in June. He talked to my grandma and grandpa about me and what had happened. I guess he had been against cutting me off but did it because my mom ultimately said it was her or me. He talked to them about wanting to reconnect with me because he didn't want to die on bad terms. This caused a fight with my parents and they argued about it up until last week. My dad decided he didn't care if my mom left him and started staying at my grandparents' house. He was on his way to my place when he was hit by a drunk driver and killed. So my mom and family ultimately blame me for his death. Last night was a hard night for me and I'll admit that I partly blame myself too. My dad's sister is letting me stay with her and ride with her and my grandparents to the funeral. My dad's family has been very kind to me this past 24 hours and I'm glad I'll have them to lean on during the funeral. I don't think my mom will make a scene at the funeral if I'm with my aunt, she is scared of her, but my brothers and sisters might. My big brother's flight comes in soon and he and I already talked about going together to the wake my dad's side is hosting. I'm hoping since it's at a bar none of my Mormon family will be there and I can be surrounded by people who I love and remember my dad. Honestly, I was still torn about going because I do feel a little guilty about his death, but he wanted to spend the rest of his life with me in it. So I'll definitely be at his funeral. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Info: how does your extended family, his family, feel about it? Was it your brother's dad that said you shouldn't go? Or your mom's? Reply: it was my mother's brother. Her side of the family cut me off. I'm still in touch with my father's side since they're not Mormon and don't care if I am or not, and regularly see my cousins. I haven't talked to my grandparents yet about this because I don't want to burden them with this yet. I haven't told them my dad stopped talking to me and I don't think he told them either. Commenter 2, NTA I'm so sorry. I'm assuming that the funeral will be held at the temple, which could mean unpleasantness for you if someone takes exception to your presence. You have to decide what you're willing to risk by attending, because it's likely that someone would make a scene or be otherwise unpleasant, which could turn an already difficult day into a real trauma for you. My sincere condolences on your loss. Reply: the service will be held at his ward chapel and the burial will be at the local cemetery. I'm almost certain if I go one of my older siblings will have something to say to me. That's why I'm not sure if I should go. Commenter 3, years down the line what would you regret the most? Having an argument with family who cut you off who you already have no relationship with, or missing the last moment to say goodbye to your father? Update. Recap: I was disowned by my family a few years back. I found out through text my dad had died and was told I wasn't wanted at the funeral. First I want to say thanks, because even though this isn't an advice sub I received good advice on my original post and it really helped me reach out to my dad's side of the family. I did end up going to my dad's service and funeral. My aunt took me along with my grandparents. Thanks to all the ex-Mormons who told me what I should expect at the funeral. If I hadn't known what was going to happen I would have probably been even more of a mess than I already was. My mom and her family were not happy to see me. She didn't even talk to me during the funeral, which I guess is a lot better than her yelling at me. My older brother sat with me and my dad's side of the family during the funeral and was my support through the whole thing. He and my grandparents even encouraged me to get up and share stories about my dad when the time came for people to give final words. The wake was nice. I guess my dad would sneak out and get a drink with my uncle every now and then, so they had the wake at their favorite bar. My brother supporting me through everything and realizing he would have my back even when it came to our mom means the world to me. I'm still trying to process his death, especially since he died on his way to see me. I've started seeing a therapist at my brother and aunt's suggestion. I was in a really bad place for a few weeks after the funeral, and it's really been a lot of help. Yesterday was my dad's birthday and my aunt and I drove up to visit his grave. It was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be, but hard nonetheless. Thanks for all the help and advice. Final comments. Commenter 1, I'm sorry for your loss. It's not easy to lose a patent. I do have a question, though. What do you mean when you say you would have been a mess if people hadn't told you what to expect from a Mormon funeral? From what I know, they are like most other funerals. The service is held in a church, followed by graveside services, and then food at the church or some other location. I'm confused by your statement. Reply: well, this is the only Mormon funeral I've been to, but there was a large portion dedicated to the plan of salvation and how this is all a part of God's plan. My old bishop gave an impromptu talk about my dad because the Spirit compelled him to. I felt like it was mostly directed at me. It talked about him being sad in his last days because of a torn family, then encouraged all of us to come unto Christ. Then my younger siblings talked about being a part of his eternal family and seeing him in the next life, which won't include me since I'm not a me member anymore. Commenter 2, your dad was a Mormon but had a favorite bar. Reply: yeah, I guess he would go with my uncle without telling anyone. It was their secret until he died. Stories number 23. I feel like a guest at my own wedding. His best friend planned everything with him. I never thought I'd feel like a third wheel at my own wedding, but here we are. My fiance's best friend is basically planning everything with him, and I'm just watching from the sidelines. She's been his best friend for over a decade. I get it, they're close and she's been around longer than I have. But ever since we got engaged, it feels like the two of them are throwing this wedding while I just sign off on their choices. She helped pick the color scheme, the signature drinks, even designed the Pinterest board with him and didn't include me. He says she has great taste, and that she's just trying to help, but it honestly feels like he's more comfortable planning with her than with me. The other day, I found out he even showed her some of my wedding dress inspiration pics to ask what she thought, without telling me. I feel small. Like this isn't our day anymore. Like I'm being sidelined in something that's supposed to be one of the most meaningful moments of my life. He doesn't see the problem. He thinks I'm overreacting. And I'm scared that if I push back, it'll turn into a fight or I'll look insecure, but staying quiet is eating at me. Has anyone been through something similar? How do I talk to him without making it worse? I don't want drama, I just want to feel like I matter in my own wedding. Any advice would really help. Stories number 24. My fiancé says my solo trip will hurt our relationship, but it's something I've wanted for years. I've been planning a 2-week solo backpacking trip through Southeast Asia. It's something I've wanted to do for years and I finally have the time and money to make it happen. My fiancé isn't saying she'll leave me if I go, but she's made it clear that it would really affect how she sees the relationship. She said it feels like I'm prioritizing something else over building our life together. I'm not going to party or anything like that. I just want to experience it for myself, explore, reflect, and finally do something I've dreamed about. I love her and I want our future together, but I also feel like I'll regret not doing this. What would you do in this situation? Is it worth risking some tension to do something that means a lot to you? Stories number 25. Employee quit claiming better work-life balance. I'm confused. One of my engineers gave me their 2 weeks notice today and told me the reason was seeking better work-life balance being promised at another company. This really surprised me. I asked him if there was anything specific that I could help improve this for him, like lessen his workload, but he didn't really give me any feedback. I even suggested to take a few weeks off to think about it, but he said that he's thought about it for long enough and that he's certain on his decision. He's been on my team for the past 2 years. We got along very well and was well liked by the team. He did good work. I gave him a promotion 8 months ago. He always had a good attitude, and he had minimum complaints that I would address immediately. My company is fully remote. We require 3-hour overlap for people to be online for meetings, collaboration, code review, etc. Weekly meeting burden is one 30-minute company-wide meeting, and one 30-minute team meeting to sync up on work. Everything else is done asynchronously. No hard deadlines for tasks, except of course for recovery efforts in the event of an incident or outage. We have unlimited PTO and require everyone to use a minimum of 4 weeks, and at least 1 week has to be consecutive. We shut down the week of Thanksgiving, 2 weeks for Christmas, New Year's, and every other Friday off during the summer. We do require engineers to be on call, but it's a 10-week rotation, during business hours only. I personally feel like my company has one of the best work-life balance policies that I have ever experienced. I'm truly very confused. Is there something obvious here that I have missed or should be more proactive about to ensure people don't leave because of burnout? Is there something that would impact someone's work-life balance that they would not be comfortable talking to me about? Update: thank you for everyone's comments on this. There were some great comments on here that pointed out some things I would have never guessed from this situation. HR told me they scheduled an exit interview next week. If there's anything noteworthy that they share with me, I'll make a separate update post. Also, I apologize ahead of time for replying to people's comments asking if I'm hiring to DM me if you have experience in my team's specialization. I realized shortly after I'd be publicly exposing myself and my company. Given my username, it would be a bad idea. Comments. Commenter 1. He's accepted another offer and is probably mentally checked out. I don't think he wants to engage at this point. The reason given may have been true, but he doesn't want to elaborate, or it could have been a simple excuse because he doesn't care to talk about it. I would consider his feedback, but don't get hung up on it. Commenter 2. Work-life balance is an easy out to avoid burning bridges. Commenter 3. I quit last week and told them it's the money. Of course it's the money. Same thing here. He got more money. Commenter 4. Incident or outage is speaking very loudly here. That's hard, frustrating work. You don't get to pick when it happens, you can't log off until it's fixed, and the whole time, everyone is mad because it isn't fixed yet. I would bet that part of the job sucks and you will lose people. Reply: yeah, I completely get that. Especially when production is always on fire, it's a horrible work environment to be in. However, it's part of the job. At my company, we only get 1 to 2 incidents a year and they are relatively minor, less than an hour to bring back live. Update. TLDR, an engineer on my team that was well liked and recently promoted gave 2 weeks notice for better work-life balance. There was some confusion as there were no signals that he was unhappy with his job and my company has better than average policies for work-life balance. I've talked to him personally some more and received feedback from HR from their exit interview. His reasoning for work-life balance was true. He didn't elaborate, but his home situation became complicated and he wants to take some time to focus on figuring that out. I told him I'd be happy to give him some PTO or unpaid sabbatical. He thanked me, but didn't want to put a time constraint on returning to work. The only critical, but significant feedback he gave HR was on our health plan. Apparently, he's been having a lot of issues with the health insurance company. He was forced to pay out of pocket for some treatment because either they could not find in-network doctors or the insurance kept denying claims from his doctor saying that it wasn't necessary. He said he'd love to come back and work here one day, but only if we change our health insurance provider. The good news is that HR has received this feedback from other people and are currently looking at other providers. So ball is in their court for this one. Comments. Commenter 1. The health plan one is pretty valid. My old job changed health providers this year and we got a lot of complaints and people actually left over it for similar reasons. Having issues with stuff that used to be covered adds a lot of stress. Commenter 2. Blue Cross is one of the worst, IME. Back when I was on their plan at a previous company, they seemed to lose my pre-authorization every 3 months like clockwork for a life-saving medication. With no notice, of course. I'd find out at the pharmacy when my bill was suddenly 4 figures instead of 3. Asthma is typically a lifelong condition, so it's not like it was for antibiotics or something you'd expect to be temporary. Reply, BCBS is frustrating. Had them at my last company. Their only redeeming quality is that nearly everyone accepts them. However, nothing is ever fucking straightforward. Like, whatever info they need, keep it between the insurer and provider. Why do I, as a patient, need to be doing clerical work? Commenter 3. Because you're free. BCBS doesn't want to pay for that clerical work, neither does your health provider. So both of them put it on you. It also adds an extra layer of obfuscation between the two of them, so they can point the finger at you for any clerical errors. It's intentional. Stories number 26. I broke up with my girlfriend because for the last 15 days she was talking about her best friend whole days straight and she met him 20 days ago. So basically 20 days ago my girlfriend met this guy and they became best friends in just 4 or 5 days. She literally talked about him at every point for 15 days straight. Last night we were making out and she maybe accidentally said his name instead of me. I get it that every person have a friend of an opposite gender, but if you just keeps talking that person every time and then while making out mistakenly saying his name instead of mine, as a man I can also get jealous. We had arguments over this and she just kept complimenting him for no reason. He is this good, he is that good in every aspect of you. So at one point I broke up with her and made her leave my house. Today she called me, told me that my tongue slipped and you overreacted. Did I really overreact? Stories number 27. Aita for not inviting my sister to my wedding after she ruined my engagement party. I, 28F, recently got engaged to my fiancé, Justin, 30M, and we couldn't be happier. We decided to throw an engagement party to celebrate with family and friends, and I was really looking forward to it. My sister, Aubrey, 25F, has always been a bit of a wild card. She's the life of the party but can also be incredibly self-centered. The night of the party, everything started off beautifully. We had a lovely venue, great food, and our closest friends and family were there to celebrate with us. However, things took a turn when Aubrey arrived. She was dressed to the nines, and I could tell she was ready to steal the spotlight. As the night progressed, she started making comments about my fiancé, saying things like, "I hope you know what you're getting into," and "you could do so much better." I tried to brush it off, thinking she was just being her usual dramatic self, but then she really crossed the line. During the toast, I stood up to thank everyone for coming and to share how much Justin means to me. Just as I was about to finish, Aubrey stood up and interrupted me. She raised her glass and said, "Here's to my sister settling for less. May your life be filled with mediocrity and regret." The room went silent. I was in shock, and Justin looked equally horrified. I felt my face flush with embarrassment and anger. I quickly sat down, trying to regain my composure, but the damage was done. Guests started whispering, and some even left early. I was devastated. After the toast, I confronted Aubrey in private, hoping to get her to see how hurtful her words were. Instead, she doubled down, saying she was just being honest and that I should be thankful for her tough love. The next day, I was still reeling from the humiliation. I knew I had to make a decision about the wedding guest list, and after discussing it with Justin, we decided not to invite Aubrey. I felt that if she couldn't support me during my engagement, she didn't deserve to be part of my wedding day. When I told my parents about our decision, my mom was furious. She insisted that I should invite Aubrey to keep peace in the family, claiming that family is everything. My dad was more supportive of my choice, saying that I shouldn't have to tolerate toxic behavior, especially on such an important day. As the wedding planning progressed, Aubrey found out she wasn't invited. She exploded on social media, posting about how I was being a bridezilla and how I was excluding her for no reason. This led to a wave of family members reaching out to me, some siding with her and others supporting my decision. One of my aunts even called me to say that I was being too harsh and that Aubrey just wanted what was best for me. I felt cornered and alone. I thought about reaching out to her to talk things over, but I was afraid it would only lead to more drama. Now, with the wedding just a few weeks away, I'm feeling guilty. A part of me wonders if I should just invite her to avoid further family conflict, but another part of me believes that I deserve to have a day free from negativity. So, Aita for not inviting my sister to my wedding after she ruined my engagement party. Stories number 28. I stole a car from a car thief. I woke up one night to the sound of my '95 Honda Civic trying to start. It wouldn't start because the thief hadn't found the kill switch. There's a lot of car theft in my city and those old Hondas are easy targets, so I'm glad I had that installed. I ran outside in my underwear, and just shouted from the porch as deep and loud as I could, "Hey! What the fuck are you doing?" And then two people ran out of the car and down the street. The shouting woke up my roommates and they came downstairs to see what was up. We peeked around but the thieves had run off. Then a few minutes later I hear the engine trying to start again. So I shout for my roommates to come back and we all ran outside in our underwear and pajamas. One guy had a skateboard, one guy grabbed a bat. So we're just all standing on the porch, not trying to get physical, just shouting at them. The one thief yells back from another Honda parked just a few feet away from mine. "No, this is my car. We're just trying to get away, it's my car." What came over me, but I shouted back, "No, that's my car now. That's mine." And they just were like, "Okay man," and ran off. I couldn't believe that worked, but I think it only worked because of my 3 other roommates with the underwear and skateboard and bat. I called the police right away and stayed outside watching for them, but they didn't come back. The police checked their car, or my new car, and found that it was stolen, of course. So the owner got his car back, I guess. And I'm so glad I had that kill switch. Stories number 29. I'm separating from my husband while his mother is in town visiting, just after meeting her for the first time. We were not doing well before his mother came into town without going through the laundry list of problems, most of which can be summarized by saying my 33F husband, 43M, is emotionally negligent, unavailable and can be abusive, lies, gaslights, gets defensive when confronted. We agreed to marriage counseling prior to his mother coming into town. The timing of this visit has not been ideal. I have progressive MS, just received a major infusion for which I experienced a reaction, and am flaring at the moment, unable to fulfill many hosting duties. Moreover, I am fatigued from readying the house for her, something my husband did not assist in doing. I organized his entire office, our spare bedroom, which was a huge mess because he is very messy, for her right after a medical infusion and my body is simply reacting to it, I guess. Not to mention, I was not doing 100% prior to my infusion. Only I have cleaned up since she arrived. I'm sick, using what energy I have to keep my home straight, basically. This is a pattern that has existed for a long time. Yesterday, when I went to bed early rather than making dinner as planned, my husband's mother asked him if I was okay, and he simply replied, "She's got a lot of problems." His tone was dismissive and tired, as though I've been a burden to him for quite some time, and I honestly can't be sure he has even told her I have MS at this point. Hearing him dismiss me after going through everything else sent me overboard, and I told him that we are officially done now and that I want him to leave after she flies back home. Now, I'm isolating in the bedroom, trying to rest, and avoiding everyone. I admit, part of me does feel guilty for splitting right now with his mom in the home, but at the same time I just can't take any more of this nonsense. I'm going crazy. I feel isolated and can't stop crying. Stories number 30. Aita asked the neighbor to move their little farm stand because people are stealing from my garden. Before anyone says, just build a fence, we can't afford it right now. And no HOA. My neighbor set up one of those pantries, farm stands where people can take items that they grew in their garden, pantry stuff, donated stuff, etc. In theory it's a great idea, and especially in a time when life in America sucks ass and people are struggling to make ends meet, my family included. The problem, people started coming into my yard to pick things in my garden. I've put up signs saying not to do it, I installed rabbit fence around the garden, I've angled a tarp so you can't see what's there from the road. People just hold their kids over the fence to pick tomatoes and beans or jump it. I ended up getting into an argument with a lady over it. I yelled, "HUI, stop. Those are not for you to take." She told her kid to move faster and then tried to run away. I caught up to her and asked her what the fuck her problem was, and she turned it into "How dare I swear in front of her child, why am I so angry, am I really that upset about a couple tomatoes?" I said, "I am upset that you are stealing from me." The next day, I approached my neighbor. I asked if I could maybe help move it to the other side of their driveway so it's next to the other neighbor's house. They don't have a garden out front. They said at least not until the end of the season. I asked if they could make larger signs, talk to people, just do something. They were like, "Can you really not afford to share?" I said that they aren't taking my zucchini because they're starving, they're taking my tomatoes because they want them. They said that I'm going to have to learn to live with it for now and we can talk about a solution together that will benefit the whole community after. I said I do not care about a solution that benefits the whole community. I care about a solution that stops people from stealing from me. So last night it happened again, man in his 50s. I sprayed his ass with the hose. He started yelling at me, and after a minute or so the neighbor came out yelling at me too. People have posted on the neighborhood board to be careful if they come by because I'm an asshole. The neighbor says I'm scaring people away from a community resource. I told him that I'm going to continue until he does something about the fucking thieves who feel entitled to my garden. I feel like I'm losing my fucking mind here. Am I the asshole for asking them to move it? Am I the asshole for being pissed off that people are fucking stealing from me? This is food for my family. First off, thanks for the responses. I got some good ones. I'm happy that so many of you live in places where the cops would do anything about this, but this isn't the reality I'm living. Cops here would not give a shit if I sent them a video of someone picking from my garden. They would laugh in my face. Be thankful if you live in a place where the police are useful. It looks like signs are the best option for now. Going to make signs indicating heavy use of pesticides and repeating that they are stealing food from the mouths of hungry children. I don't know why the signs we already have up aren't enough. Maybe more will help. I'm sure they won't. We'll also scour Craigslist for free fencing or similar items. Hopefully that pans out. Stories number 31. Nearly died drowning after saving my sister, can't process my resentment. Hey, this happened yesterday and it's all really fresh. Me, 13M, was at the beach with my sister, 16F, and my parents, 42F, 43M, both stayed on shore and didn't get in the water. We were in this city for a dance competition for my sister, and because she was dancing all week she really wanted to go to the beach. It was already kind of cold to go swimming, like 76 degrees Fahrenheit, and it had rained earlier, but since this was her only opportunity one stuck it out and went. Anyways, we get to the beach and me and my sister get in. I learned after the fact they redid the beach and the sand hadn't had time to settle. My sister is significantly shorter than me and she got stuck in this part and couldn't swim forward because the waves were rough and couldn't put her feet on the sand. So I, about 15 feet away, swim over to her and pull her to a safe distance. At that same time, a rip current hit me and I got pulled really far. I tried swimming and treading water but the waves were super rough and I kept going underwater and swallowed lots of salt water. I threw up on myself in the water and tried screaming for help. I cried out to God thinking I was fully about to die. I tried floating on my back but even then the waves were rough and I kept going underwater. I was about to lose consciousness when a police officer came and rescued me. The entire experience was super traumatic than I even wrote it out to be. I get to shore and the police and EMTs come and we have to head to the hospital. My mom goes in the ambulance with me, and my sister and dad drive there afterwards. While I was in the hospital bed after getting dropped off by the ambulance and checked out and waiting for the doctor, my sister asks her dance friend and her mom to pick her up from the hospital so she can get food and she leaves. It didn't even seem like she cared that much, but I mean I get it, I'm also hungry so whatever. Anyways, I wait for chest x-rays and being cleared and everything and we finally get to go back to our hotel at 11:30 p.m, drowning happens at around 6:50 p.m. or so. My mom, dad, and I go to Applebee's because that's the only thing open to get some food and get to the hotel at midnight. My sister is already sleeping but wakes up. My mom asks how it was with her friend and she starts telling us how she went back to the boardwalk and got food and went on a bunch of rides and had a lot of fun. I felt a lot of anger in that moment because the only reason I was in that situation was because of her and she's riding rides and having fun while actively not knowing if I'm going to be okay after nearly dying. I know rationally it isn't her fault, a rip current is random and unpredictable, but I wouldn't be in this situation at all if not for her and it seems like she doesn't care about me at all. I'm in the hospital to see if I still have water in my lungs and getting chest x-rays while she's riding rides and having fun. I can't sleep because anytime I lay down I feel like I'm floating and my body tenses up like I'm drowning again, while she sleeps so peacefully. I apologize for the length, but the rational side of me knows not to blame her but the emotional side of me can't do anything besides resent and have anger towards the situation. I don't know who to talk about this with because I know my mom and dad before we got back to the hotel had this whole mantra about how this is no one's fault and whatever. But I can't help not blaming her. The only reason we were even at the beach and the only reason I was in that situation is because of her, and she didn't care long enough to wait in the hospital with us. If they had to do something or if I had water in my lungs, she would be gone and oblivious and off having fun while I'm there in the hospital for God knows how long. I don't know how to process this situation and this was already super traumatic and a near-death situation for me. Any advice would be appreciated. Edit, thank you so much for the replies and kind words and messages. I'm trying to read all of them while sitting in this convention center as I'm dragged along to see my sister dance, again. It truly breaks my heart because I feel like I had such a good relationship with my sister and parents just to have the band-aid be ripped off that no one really cares about me. I just want to go home but tomorrow we are leaving for Washington, D.C. to see my uncle and aunt. Hopefully Saturday morning I can come back with an update after talking to my aunt because she's a reliable pseudo-therapist for me. Thank you all. Edit 2. sorry, just posted the first edit a second ago. I downloaded Tetris. I've been playing for like an hour on and off. Thanks for the suggestion. Stories number 32. I just got unsent letters from my dead estranged daughter and I can't stop sobbing. My daughter, who I haven't talked to or seen in 5 years, passed away 2 weeks ago in a car accident. I never stopped loving her for a single minute, but I never approached her to show her that her boundaries matter and was willing to wait for her to come back on her own even if it took decades. 2 days ago I returned to work because I'm a lawyer and I just couldn't take time off like that and was already late and had so much work to do. But earlier today my ex came to firm and gave me a folder filled with unsent letters that my daughter wrote to me and said she found them in her room and wanted me to have them. And I waited to get home to read them because I knew I'd sob if I read them there and wouldn't be able to work, and I've been sobbing non-stop for 4 hours now. I myself used to write her a lot of letters and messages that I just throw away. She wrote about how embarrassed she was when she requested to not see me again and how she still loves me and how she wants to reunite with me and go on a trip and how she wants to meet my new wife and kids and she was wondering if I still love her and think about her like she does, and she wrote about wanting to become a lawyer like me and that she was studying law and was wondering if I would be proud of her. She even wrote one after her ex-boyfriend cheated on her and how she wished I was there, and she was clearly crying because there was stains on the letter, and that just broke my heart in a way that I didn't know was possible. I wish I'd get just 10 extra minutes with her to tell her I love her so much and that I couldn't be any prouder in her. Stories number 33. You don't want kid food? Alright then, enjoy your plate. This happened when I was around 13 and it still cracks me up till date. Every Sunday, we had lunch at my grandma's house. She always went all out: pot roast, collard greens, spicy gumbo and whatever else she felt like making. But she also made a separate batch of kid food, usually some mac and cheese, chicken tenders or grilled cheese sandwiches for the younger cousins who were picky eaters. Now, I was the oldest of the kids and one day I decided I was too grown for children food. I dramatically pushed away my plate and said, I didn't want kid food anymore. I want what the grown-ups are eating. Grandma gave me this long, slow look over her glasses and asked, "You sure about that, sugar?" I nodded like I was signing a contract with the president. She didn't argue. Just scooped a huge portion of her extra spicy gumbo, poured some collard greens with vinegar, added some cornbread on the side and handed me a big glass of unsweetened iced tea. That gumbo lit my soul on fire. My nose was running, my eyes were watering and the vinegar from the greens wasn't helping. But my pride wouldn't let me ask for help, and you better believe I wasn't about to admit I missed the mac and cheese. Grandma walked by, patted my shoulder and whispered, "Next week I'll fix you some chicken nuggets again, unless you'd rather eat like the adults." The nuggets were back on my plate the next Sunday. Stories number 34. I think my roommate is trying to get me kicked out. Basically my roommate Sarah, 24F, has been doing weird stuff since her boyfriend moved in without asking me first. I'm 22F BTW, so remember how I said she keeps leaving messes and then blaming me? Well, it got worse. Yesterday I came home from work and found a note on my door from our landlord saying there were noise complaints about loud music at 2 a.m. on Tuesday. Here's the thing. I wasn't even home Tuesday night. I was at my parents' house helping my dad with something and didn't get back until Wednesday afternoon. I have gas receipts and everything. When I confronted Sarah about it she just shrugged and said, maybe it was the neighbors, but our walls are thick and the couple next door are like 70 years old. Plus I asked them and they said they didn't hear anything. Her boyfriend Kyle has been really hostile lately too. He ate my food again yesterday and when I said something he was like, "You don't own the fridge." Sarah just stood there and didn't say anything. I'm starting to think they want me gone so he can officially move in and split rent 2 ways instead of 3. The lease isn't up until August and I can't afford to break it early. Should I talk to the landlord directly? I don't want to seem like I'm causing drama, but this is getting ridiculous. My anxiety is through the roof and I don't feel comfortable in my own home anymore. Stories number 35. She called the cops on me because she got my mail. We moved into our house a couple years ago and we love our neighborhood. We've made some really good friends here and it's a nice place to live. Our neighbor across the street, Wendy, hates us. I don't know when it started. When we moved in, my husband backed up the moving truck a little too close to her mailbox, I guess. She sent a message to the previous residents that the new guy living across the street is an idiot, which we know because the previous resident sent that to a different neighbor, whom we befriended. She made a post on our HOA app with tons of screenshots from her door cam of people walking their dogs saying it's illegal for dogs to walk on her lawn. The HOA president commented for her to knock it off. About a year or 2 ago, my credit card expired and they sent me a new one. Apparently, I put her address instead of mine. There's one number different. 1213 instead of 1212. Edit. For clarity, I updated my address on my credit card when we moved here about 2.5 years ago. When the card expired, they sent the new one to her address, because that's what they had on file. If you think this story is fake, that's fine. That's not an issue for me to deal with. Instead of seeing my name on the card and bringing it to me, she called 911 and told them I was trying to steal her identity. The cop knocks on my door and explains, says he told her that's not how it works, but she's a bored old woman with nothing better to do, and she won't give my card back. I send him back over there to get it, and instead, she shreds it in front of him. There are a lot more stories about her. She's delusional and paranoid and has made problems for everyone on our street, but we mostly all ignore her. ETA, yes, messing with my mail was illegal. No, I'm not going to report this crazy old lady. She's miserable enough and I'm not out for revenge. Stories number 36. AITJ for stealing my ex's little sister's quinceañera dress because it used to be mine and I wasn't invited. Hi. This is gonna sound bad because it is bad. I, 22F, did something kinda unhinged this weekend and now literally everyone in my life is mad at me. So for context, I dated this guy, let's call him Diego, 23M, for about 2 years. We were serious, like, future talking, ring shopping serious. I was basically part of his family. I spent every holiday with them, helped his mom decorate for parties, even took his little sister, let's call her Valentina, dress shopping when she was like 13. We found this gorgeous dress. Lavender, corset back, hand beating, a legit princess moment. I was the one who said, try that one, V. I helped pick it. I helped buy it. I even covered the last $150 when their mom's card got declined. I never asked to be paid back because, again, I thought we were family. Then Diego cheated. With a coworker. And ghosted me like I was a DoorDash order. Cold. His family. Radio silence. Not even a, hope you're okay. Like I never existed. Now fast forward to this past weekend, Valentina's quinceañera. I wasn't invited. Which hurt, because I helped plan it before we broke up. I even helped pick the venue. Then I saw the photos. She wore the dress. My dress. And I don't mean, oh, I once helped pick it. I mean, when I moved out of Diego's place, I left it in his mom's closet because I was too sad to go through stuff. That dress had sentimental value. I always said if I had a daughter one day, that's the kind of dress I'd want her to wear. It was the only thing I didn't take with me. So. I drove to the venue during the afterparty. I waited until the crowd moved outside for fireworks. I went inside, found the dressing area, and, yeah. I took the dress. It was in a garment bag, hung up by the mirrors. I didn't rip it. I didn't mess anything up. I just, took back what was mine. Drove home in silence like I was in a heist movie. Then the text started. Diego's mom called me a thief. Valentina posted on IG saying, can't believe my quince ended in betrayal. Diego texted me, first time in 8 months, and said, you're sick. Give it back. I told him, tell your sister to find her own fairy tale. That one was mine first. Now my own friends are like, girl, what the hell? One even said I made a child's party about me. Which, okay, fair. But I didn't crash the party. I didn't even ruin anything, she already wore it. So Reddit, AITJ for taking the dress back after everything that happened? Or was it mine to begin with? Update, AITJ for stealing my ex's little sister's quinceañera dress because it used to be mine and I wasn't invited? Hey again, Reddit. So, things have escalated. Wildly. I just want to start by saying, I thought I was done after I took the dress. I genuinely believed that was the peak of my chaos. But then I saw a TikTok Valentina posted, yes, she's 15, where she was lip-syncing in her torn-up after-party dress with the caption, still a queen even when the snakes bite family drama, and I blacked out a little. So I went back to Diego's mom's house. I still have the garage code, because apparently changing the passcode wasn't a priority in the aftermath of emotional warfare. No one was home, it was the Sunday after the party and they were probably at church praying for my soul. I walked straight into Valentina's room. On her bed, displayed like it was sacred, was her quinceañera doll. If you know, you know, it's the big porcelain one that looks like the birthday girl, usually wearing a mini version of the dress. It's symbolic. It represents leaving childhood behind. So I took it. I didn't break it. I didn't smash it. I just, gently placed it in the passenger seat of my car, buckled her in, and drove home listening to Lana Del Rey like I was in a gothic novella about cousin feuds and lace revenge. I didn't tell anyone at first. But then Valentina posted another TikTok that said, funny how some people still want to be 15 at 22, and girl. I lost it. So I made a TikTok too. It featured me holding the doll wearing the dress. The caption, "Don't worry, Mija, I'll keep your childhood safe since you were so quick to throw it away." Now Diego's entire family is blowing up my phone. His grandma called me a bruja con Wi-Fi. Valentina commented, "You're seriously disturbed." Diego said he's considering getting the police involved, which like, okay, arrest me in the gown, baby. And I was gonna give it back. I really was. But now I've decided the doll is my emotional support daughter and we're doing weekly photo shoots. So yeah. I stole the dress. I stole the doll. I might have lost my mind, but at least I didn't lose my flair. AITJ for taking the doll too? Or is it still fair game since they wanted to erase me like I was never part of their lives? Update 2, AITJ for stealing my ex's little sister's quinceañera dress, and doll, and now her crown. Hi again. It's me. America's sweetheart turned emotional war criminal. So if you've been following, yes, I stole my ex's little sister's quinceañera dress. Yes, I took her porcelain doll too, so you'd think, at that point, I'd be done, right? Maybe get a therapist. Touch grass. Light a candle. Well. Valentina decided to clap back, again. She posted a carousel on Instagram with the caption, "Can't steal what doesn't belong to you, thanks for the memories, now get therapy." And in the third photo, her wearing her quinceañera crown. The little rhinestone tiara. With my necklace underneath it like it was just a trinket. At that moment I realized, this wasn't about the dress. It was about legacy. So I texted Diego's cousin, who secretly hates Valentina, shout out to Toxic Alliances, and asked where they kept the party stuff. She said, "The crown's in the curio cabinet. Left side. Next to the wedding candles and the nativity baby. And then, you're going to hell by the way." Fast forward. Midnight. Hoodie. Car running. Hair in a sleek bun because I don't sweat, I glow with vengeance. I go back to the house. This time the door is locked. So I break in through the side window like a polite little raccoon. I grab the crown. The tiara. The rhinestone-studded proof of her womanhood. I put it on my own head. In the mirror. In her room. Then I took one selfie and posted it with no caption. Just this people are like, "Girl, give the child her crown back." No. Now Diego's family is threatening to press charges. Apparently the crown was custom made. Apparently it was blessed by a priest. Apparently I've crossed the line into cultural desecration. Do I feel bad? Honestly? No. Because I was discarded. Disrespected. Left like a bad party favor. So I took back what was mine, and what should have been mine if that family had any decency. So yes, I now have the dress. The doll. And the crown. The holy trinity of petty. AITJ for completing the quinceañera heist. Or did I just give myself the party they never let me have? Stories number 37. Dated for 7 years and he dumped me by email in 22. Now his brother wants me to send my ex a birthday message. I dated my now ex for most of my 20s from 2015 to 2022. Today, out of the blue, his younger brother messaged me saying he's putting together a birthday video for him and thought I might want to send something funny. And honestly, I'm in shock, going through so many emotions. In 2022, my ex was 35M, broke up with me, was 28F, in the coldest, most distant way possible. We were doing long distance, for the first time after 6 years of dating, while I was away at college, and I'd fly out to see him every few months. I had just spent 2 weeks at his house, then flew back to school to start a new semester. That first week back, during our usual Thursday video calls, he ended the conversation by telling me, "You should check your email." I opened it after we hung up and found an audio file. A recorded breakup message he emailed me on Monday. He literally ended our relationship, after years, in an audio file that he emailed to me but told me about 3 days later. I sat there in disbelief and he wasn't texting me back. I didn't sleep at all that night. We FaceTimed that weekend and he said he didn't love me anymore as I was focused on my education, but he said nothing in the 2 weeks I was there staying with him the week prior. So now, years later, to be asked to participate in this birthday surprise video feels surreal. Part of me wants to laugh at the absurdity of it all because his younger brother knows all about how our breakup happened. He repeatedly told my ex, his older brother, that he would regret breaking up with me. That if he wasn't already married, he would happily marry me, and my ex is making a mistake letting me go. I've made my peace with it and have moved on. I don't live in that state anymore, like totally moved on. I've been laughing at the absurdity of it all. And a small, quiet part of me is just heartbroken. Anyway, I guess I just needed to get that off my chest before I decide what to do. Stories number 38. AIO for putting a lock on my bedroom door after my roommate's boyfriend walked in on me changing, twice. I, 22F, live with two other girls in a shared apartment. One of them, Maya, 23F, has a boyfriend who is over constantly. He's fine, mostly, quiet, respectful, but apparently does not knock. Last week, he walked in on me changing. I was in a bra and underwear, facing the closet. He apologized and left quickly, but it was so awkward. Maya said, "Oh my god, he's so dumb, sorry," and that was it. It happened again 3 days later. I was literally topless. I yelled at him and slammed the door. This time, Maya got defensive and said, "Well, maybe lock the door next time." So I did. I went to Home Depot, bought a cheap door knob with a key lock, and installed it myself. Now Maya is acting like I'm paranoid and creating an unsafe vibe in the apartment by acting like someone's out to get me. Our other roommate is neutral but told me she thinks Maya is trying to save face and that I should just talk it out. But like, am I seriously overreacting? 2 times is enough, right? Stories number 39. I pretended not to understand my in-laws' native language to hear what they really think of me. I, 28F, am half Filipina, half white. I don't look very Asian, and I wasn't raised speaking Tagalog, but I learned it in college for fun. My fiancé, 30M, is Filipino and very close to his family. When we visit them, they often speak in Tagalog around me. I never let on that I understood. At first, it was fine. But then, I started hearing my name in sentences I could understand. Things like, "She's pretty, but she's too pale," or "I don't think she'll raise the kids right." One day, his aunt said something truly awful. "She's the type who'll take him away from us. Just watch, once they're married, we'll never see him again. She'll poison his heart against his family." That night, I told my fiancé everything. He was stunned. Called his mom out, who denied it all until I repeated her words in perfect Tagalog. The room went silent. I walked out. They've been apologizing ever since, but I don't want to spend my life with people who only respect me when they think I don't understand. Stories number 40. My neighbor's cheating on his wife with my mom. So, my neighbor, 68, has been a family friend since before I, 16, was born. For about 8 years, my mother, 47, has been friends with him, but recently she has gotten too close to him. About a year or two ago I caught them kissing, twice. Yesterday I went through her phone and found them sending texts saying, "I love you," and talking about things they do together. I wouldn't care, but he's old enough to be her father, and he's married. His wife is bound to a chair, barely able to walk to the door. She has no clue what's going on. My mother helps to take care of her and their dog. I live with my mom and grandparents. Is there anything I could do about this? Edit, to all of you saying, "How do you know his wife doesn't know?" My mother calls her things like a bitch or whore. So I know that my mother doesn't want her to know. And my mother has joked about moving in with my neighbor when his wife dies. Do what you will with that info. Stories number 41. You have to stay till 6 p.m. So, about 10 years ago now, I worked the FIFO lifestyle and it was great. We would work 8 days on and get 6 days off. On the days we worked, it would be 12-hour shifts, and ours was 6 a.m. till 6 p.m. Anyway, we got this manager, and they were good at first, but over time they became more strict. One day, we were leaving at 5:55 p.m., which was very common for us, as we carpooled from camp to site, about 5 kilometers away, in our work vehicle, even with the boss. We would leave camp at 5:30 a.m. and be at work shortly after, usually commencing at 5:40 a.m. most days, if not earlier. So, one day after leaving 5 minutes early, we were pulled into the office and told that we had to stay until 6 p.m. moving forward. Even after we mentioned that we mostly ate at our desk instead of going to the lunchroom, cue malicious compliance. The boss would get to the car at the normal time, 5:30 a.m., and we wouldn't get to the car until 5:50, even 5:55 a.m. at times. We stopped eating at our desks and took our 2 breaks away from work in the lunchroom. If disturbed, we'd ignore it or say we'd get to it after lunch. And we stayed till 6 p.m., even if work was completed. Some urgent tasks, that were normally done while most people were on breaks, stopped getting done, or took longer. Sometimes the work carried over to the next day. Their manager caught on about 3 weeks later and asked us why. We explained what had happened. That afternoon, we were informed we could leave 5 minutes early moving forward, as long as the work was done. Let's just say the manager only lasted another 6 months, not sure if they were forced out or quit. Stories number 42. You have a guest room so you have to let me stay. My friend told me this story today so I decided to share, with her permission of course. So my friend and her husband recently bought their first house and they have a small guest room. She posted some pics on Facebook after moving in, just a little update for friends and family. Her cousin, who she had not seen in over a year, slides into her DMs. Hey! So excited for you guys. I saw you have a guest room, any chance I could crash there for a few weeks? My friend asked what for. She says she's thinking of moving to our city but hasn't found a job or place yet, so she figured they could help out. My friend said they weren't comfortable hosting someone long-term, especially with no clear timeline. The cousin goes, must be nice to have a whole extra room and not be willing to help family. Quite inconsiderate. Then she added that she'd clean up after herself and wouldn't even expect my friend to cook or anything. Oh okay, how generous. My friend didn't respond. She later said something vague about how some people only act like family when it's convenient. Stories number 43. I stole from a shopping cart. So this happened a few days ago at a grocery store. I was waiting patiently in my lane, and beside me was the priority lane for senior citizens, PWDs, etc. There were a couple of elderly people sitting on the chairs provided specifically for them while waiting for their turn. Pretty normal setup. Now some guy casually walks up and cuts right in front of the seated seniors. I speak up and say, hey, they're already in line. And this guy, without even looking at me, goes, I don't see them standing in line though. Real smug. Real dismissive. The elderly folks looked uncomfortable but didn't want to cause a scene, so I shut up and I simmered. A few minutes later, we're still in the lanes and I notice his cart is stacked with what looks like camping gear such as a sleeping bag, paper plates, marshmallows, instant noodles, a portable stove, etc. And there it was, a single can of butane gas. And right there, I saw an opportunity. The guy's blabbering on the phone, totally distracted. So I casually leaned over, plucked the butane from his cart, and slid it into mine. He didn't notice. He checked out and left. I paid for my stuff including his butane, and walked away. Somewhere out there, this man arrived at his campsite, probably boasting about how smart and quick he is. And when he tried to fire up that portable stove, no gas, no hot food, no coffee, just crunchy noodles and the sweet taste of consequences, hopefully. Edit. Some stores where I'm from put up those plastic benches for priority lanes. Also, PWD means people with disability. Stories number 44. Showed up early, asked to pay $2,000 for one night. I booked a 6-day stay near the beach in California for the July 4th week. I booked almost a year in advance and got a great deal. A week before the reservation, I got a call from my host saying that there was maintenance being done on the place I reserved and they offered me a different place nearby, saying it was an upgrade. The original reservation was for a 3-BDRM condo, the new reservation was for 2 one-bedroom bungalows side by side. We packed up our kids and dogs and arrived yesterday. The host texted and says I'm early, my reservation doesn't start until the next day. I double-check and realize they are correct. She says not to worry, to settle in and I can just pay for an extra night. At midnight last night, I get a text saying they can't host me anymore. I finally speak to someone who says they are an assistant to one of the owners and I have to pay $2,000 for the extra night. This is almost as much as I am paying for the whole week. The assistant says B, there are 2 bungalows, I have to pay $1,000 each at this higher price. B, that's the real price of the rental at this time of the year. I told him it was the middle of the night, my kids were already asleep and I needed to speak with the person who changed my reservation directly in the morning before doing anything. What do I do from here? Help. Update. The host's virtual assistant reached out to me and he was super nice and easy to talk to. There was a lot of back and forth and a nasty message directly from the host on the VRBO messaging thread threatening to just kick us out. But in the end they begrudgingly agreed to accept an additional payment of $800 for the additional night. I still feel on edge and it will probably take me a while to deactivate my flight or fight response. So many lessons learned.